And he'll receive from Don Silvestri, a left-footed soccer styler who kicks it off for Pittsburgh, and we're underway at Pitt Stadium, and Melton will field it at the 8. And not a bad run back. Melton stopped just shy of the 30-yard line by Derek Parker on special teams for Pittsburgh. So senior Tom Tarver, whose job was thrown open just 2 games before the end of his Rutgers career, Tarver maintained his starting position, held off a challenge from left-hander Derek McCord. But the big question with Tom Tarver is how mobile. He's been hobbled by a knee sprain most of the season.
He's a very courageous kid. He had to get surgery on one knee last year at the end of the season. Then he re-injured the good knee against Duke earlier in this season. It's really affected his mobility.
And Rutgers on first down gives to Antoine Moore, who has taken over as their top runner, and Moore is out to the 35. One of the big changes Doug Graber made about 10 days ago, he really shuffled up that offensive line. It's pretty much a new alignment. Travis Broadbent, the only player at center who stayed in his spot from the start of the season. Antoine Moore does most of the running, and Jimmy Garantano leads the Big East Conference with 51 catches. Second down, and about 4 from the 35. Tarver on a play fake. And that one is hauled in and held by Garantano just shy of midfield. Pass was high, but Garantano has good hands and showed it there. Pittsburgh defense, Sean Gilbert a key, but they're missing again Keith Hamilton, who hardly played last week, will not play at all today as a defensive end. McDonald and Sean Abinay, starting instead of Nelson Walker, are the outside linebackers. Good secondary led by Steve Israel and by Doug Whaley. Oh, it's first down for Rutgers now from their 48. Melton in motion. And Moore is wrapped up behind the line. And it was Mike Kelly, a sophomore from Philadelphia, who has replaced Keith Hamilton as the left defensive end for Pitt, and he made the play.
Mike Kelly switched from the offensive line last fall, and his real strength is just right what you saw right there, playing against the run. He's not nearly as good of a pass rusher as Keith Hamilton, but he may be a better player against the running game.
And a big first down play there, a loss of 3, and this is where Rutgers will have to show something. They haven't been very good in long yardage situations this year. Second down, 13. And Tarver's errant toss for Moore over the middle. Tarver was pressured. Ricardo McDonald and Sean Gilbert in on the pressure of Tom Tarver, and now Rutgers will have 3rd and 13.
Just tried to slip the back. Antoine Moore out on a little delay route that time. They had good pass protection. That's the good sign for Doug Graber right now. They've really had trouble. They've tried to shuffle that offensive line around a lot. You couple an inexperienced line with an immobile quarterback, or a quarterback who has trouble moving around because of an injury, and it causes problems. Tarver's been sacked 26 times this season already.
Now Rutgers goes to 2 tight ends. Dave Dieterich in motion, 2 wide receivers. Tarver steps up, and almost a fine grab by Garantano, who got his hands on it, but then he got stuck by Tinker Harris, the nickelback for Pittsburgh. And after 1 first down, Rutgers now will be forced to punt. Rutgers had an outstanding first drive at Morgantown last week. Probably the best offense they had. And you see David Lippett's into punt for Rutgers. Steve Israel deep, but this will be the first punt of David Lippett's collegiate career. He took over the job this week from David Dunn. The redshirt freshman hangs a nice kick up. And I guess Israel did signal a fair catch. Wasn't a blatant signal, but he took it at the 17-yard line. So a 38-yard punt with no return. And Pittsburgh will put it in play from the 17.
Bill Davis, number 49, a wide receiver for Pitt, was on that punt rush team and was in position, had a good chance of blocking that punt, kind of pulled off. I'm sure he's going to go over to the sideline now and say, hey, if this kid's still in the game punting, he may be a little bit nervous, wants to make sure of getting the kickoff. He was a little slow getting that ball away. They may try for a block later in this ball game.
Junior Alex Van Pelt last week was intercepted 3 times by Boston College. He had been intercepted just 5 times all season before that game. And he comes out throwing to Chris Boyer, and there's a completion and a Pittsburgh first down to the 37. Marshall Roberts on the coverage. Boyer's become a target. 6 catches in each of the last 2 games.
He really has. He's really come on. You know, he's a guy who's waited his chance to play. He hasn't played much in the 3 years prior to this. He was mainly a backup to Darnell Dickerson and Orlando Truitt before this year. But now, not only is he getting a chance to play, he's also kind of the elder statesman of the wide receivers. The other guys playing behind him are freshmen and sophomores.
3 tight ends in for Pittsburgh, and Jermaine Williams gets the carry and goes nowhere. Taking a look at the Pittsburgh offensive set, Reuben Brown getting a start today as the left tackle, and freshman Lawson Malika starting as the right guard. And Glenn DeVoe and Jermaine Williams behind Van Pelt, although we will see Curtis Martin, true freshman running back today. And Green and Boyer started wide receivers, but there'll be others, Chad Askew, Dietrich Gels, and Bill Davis, that will all see time. Williams again. And Williams dancing off the right side. Gets it across the 40. Jermaine Williams, who had over 100 yards against Boston College last week. Rutgers' defensive line is really banged up. A lot of injuries. Glenn Nave makes his first start as a collegiate player today, replacing Andrew Beckett. But those outside backers, Williams and Webster, key to defense. The safeties, Malik Jackson and Jay Bellamy, have played extremely well for Rutgers this year in the secondary.
Doug was telling us before the game today, he said Wednesday, the hardest day of practice, we only had 2.5 linemen that were healthy to practice on that defensive line. He said that position particularly is really banged up.
There's Pitt on 3rd and 4, and they run it again, and Williams in a lot of room. Boy, the whole right side was wide open, and Jermaine Williams runs it to the Rutgers 38 for a first down.
What Pitt does is they bring this formation in with the 2 tight ends and make it look like they're going to run inside. Then they run the counter trap. Reuben Brown, a great block on the outside, frees up the corner for Jermaine Williams. We saw him run very well against BC last week. He probably could have had close to 200 yards had they not been behind so much in the second half. And this is a real courageous kid, someone that we've got to admire. I mean, he's got a knee problem, torn cartilage in his knee. He's going to have to get surgery at the end of the year. Sometimes he has to miss practice during the week, but he just keeps plugging along.
Van Pelt, and a bad overthrow there, intended for Dietrich Gels on the near side. Now, you saw the note just a moment ago, and I think that plays somewhat into the mentality of this game. Pittsburgh's never lost to Rutgers, and they've beaten them pretty badly through the years, 45-21 last year here at Pitt Stadium. So the Pitt players who've been around for a while look at Rutgers as, this is a game we should win.
They look at it that way, but this is a different Rutgers football team than they were a couple years ago. Doug Graber has this team playing with great intensity. And other than last week, that's been the real mark of this football team. When you play like that and you hustle on defense, you're in every ball game you play.
They need to get their defense cranked up here as Williams runs it down near the 30, but that would be the big difference. You wouldn't expect Pittsburgh to be able to score 45 points against Rutgers this year as they did last year.
It's a good defense, a second-ranked defense in the Big East Conference overall, and very strong against the run.
Well, we have no score with 10.5 to go first quarter, but Pittsburgh moving. They're at the Rutgers 32-yard line, and will face 3rd down and 4.
Jermaine Williams is out of the ball game, and he looks to be favoring his shoulder. He's over being talked to by the trainers right now. Came out holding his right shoulder.
And it is Curtis Martin who was on the field as his replacement. And Martin gets the ball, and he is wrapped up right away and dropped for a loss. And that loss is going to push Pittsburgh back to questionable field goal territory. Jameel Jackson, 41.
They expect Alex Van Pelt to make a lot of checks on the line of scrimmage. This was an 8-man front. The Bear defense, this play is not a good play against that defense because it takes too long to develop. Rutgers brought 8 men on the line of scrimmage and really forced the action into the backfield. And Alex, when he sees that, probably should go to a quick pass against man-to-man coverage on the outside.
That's a loss of about 5, and that took him out of any thought of a field goal. Leon Theodoro punts, and it hits on the nose and goes in the end zone. So Rutgers will come out to the 20-yard line. So the second possession for the Scarlet Knights will start there with 9:31 to go in a scoreless first quarter at Pitt Stadium. We'll return after these messages.
At the heart of a great university are moments of discovery. Those that alter history and those that alter oneself. The University of Pittsburgh, a place to discover.
No score after one possession for each team, and now time for the Big East Conference to proudly recognize two student athletes whose dedication and hard work have enabled them to combine academic achievement with on-field performance. Pittsburgh senior tight end Dave Moore. His major is Administration of Justice, and he's a Dean's List and Athletic Director's Honor Roll student. And Rutgers center Travis Broadbent, an economics major, who's involved in community work with the Rutgers Read Aloud program. And there is Travis Broadbent, who said he's the only offensive lineman who's stayed in the same spot all year for Rutgers. And the Scarlet Knights will start from the 20-yard line after coming up with a big defensive stand there to stop Pittsburgh as the Panthers were threatening. Carver, quick throw, and there's a completion to pretty much a forgotten part of the Rutgers offense this year, the tight ends. Chris Stoll makes the catch across the 30-yard line.
One thing Rutgers did right there, something different. They're breaking some of their tendencies. At this point in the season, you can get in a rut doing the same things from the same formation. That time, Rutgers got in their I formation and threw a drop back pass, and the tight end was wide open. Normally, when they throw drop back, they've been in split backs. Offensive coordinator Stan Perry said, look for us to throw our drop back games out of some different formations, some different looks today.
And there's a counter run, and Antoine Moore has some yardage. And Moore is out near another first down. Shy of the 45. Antoine Moore, senior from Hempstead, Long Island, and he has become Rutgers' top runner this year, over 500 yards coming in.
I really have liked this kid ever since we saw him come into the starting lineup against Northwestern. It's a cutback play. It starts out to the left, and he does a nice job following his blockers and weaving it back, cutting it back against the grain against a fast-pursuing Pitt defense.
So Rutgers with 2 first downs here on their first 2 plays of this drive. And they're out to their own 44. Good play fake. And Carver's ball to this near side falls way short of Garantano. Pass was deflected as it left Tarver's hand. Well, Doug Graber knows after 10 quarters plus without an offensive touchdown, it's very important for his team to try and score early in this game.
Well, I think that both teams are in very similar situations, and I think it's, you know, whichever team gets off to a fast start is definitely going to have a big advantage in this game.
And Doug Graber has said if Tom Tarver did not get off to a fast start, he would go. The backup Derek McCord. Tarver right now is 2 out of 5. Chris Brantley in motion, and a short side pitch to Moore. And he is to midfield, and just across it for Sean Gilbert. Makes the tackle.
Sean Gilbert.
Sean Abinay, the outside linebacker, number 55, is starting his first ball game today, and he was beaten on that play. He really has to try to keep that play to his inside. He's got to force it inside, and he got cut on the corner, and that allowed Moore to break it outside for good yardage.
Abinay, the third right outside linebacker for Pittsburgh. Curtis Gray, the senior's been injury hobbled. And Nelson Walker, who started last week, is out with the flu. Now Rutgers with 3rd down and 3 at the Pitt 49. Grabs, and it is intercepted. And it's Charles Williams with the reception and the interception for Pittsburgh. About 4 different Panthers had a chance to catch that ball. It was not a well-thrown one for Rutgers, and the Scarlet Knights are stopped by a turnover.
It was a good idea. They went with the naked bootleg on 3rd down, and you'll see Tarver's going to roll out, and he's going to look first to his tight end. He's covered, then he comes downfield, and he throws way behind Garantano. Really, when you have a deep and a short route, you've got to look to the deeper route first, and then come off to the short route. You can't do it in reverse order because that will close up in a hurry. Tarver threw that ball way behind Garantano, who's moving across the field. You've got to lead the receiver on that kind of a throw.
So here's Pittsburgh now from their 38. That ball batted up, and it's for grabs, and Van Pelt does a nice job to jump up in the air and bat that away from the Rutgers defenders. Elnardo Webster got his hand up there, and Van Pelt, very alert play here.
Very heady play. Looks like he has a little volleyball experience in his background as well. Webster gets in a clean pass to the quarterback and tips it up, and then Keith Bryant and Webster are right there to make the throw. Looked like a spike right there. Might be ready for the beach volleyball circuit next summer.
And it turns out to be a harmless incompletion. 2nd and 10 for Van Pelt. Here's Jermaine Williams back on the field. Williams goes to the 40, and that's it. Jamil Jackson pushing him back. Now, a lot of guys are playing banged up. Jermaine Williams has a right knee that's going to be scoped at the end of the season. Has some torn cartilage in that. Curtis Martin has missed most of 4 games with a toe injury. He's back today. So now Pittsburgh goes to 3 wide receivers and 1 setback, and that is Glenn DeVoe, who catches the ball well. Let's see if Rutgers comes at Van Pelt here on 3rd and 9. Stay back, and a pass caught by Boyer. And a first down inside the Rutgers 40. And we said it last week, Tom, when you give Van Pelt time, he's a tough guy to stop.
And the same thing as we saw last week as well. When Rutgers decided to not bring pressure and drop out in coverage, then Van Pelt changes from focusing on the tight ends to looking more further downfield to his wide receivers. That's a long crossing route to Boyer, and if there's pressure, you don't have time to wait for that to develop. With only a 3-man rush, you can stand in the pocket and wait for that play to open up.
Jermaine Williams, a deep setback. Coming in the left side of the defense was Sean Williams, untouched, and he wraps up Jermaine Williams. A lot of Williams in this game. Sean Williams, senior from Burlington, New Jersey. He has 11 sacks. Webster, you see in the foreground, the other outside backer has, they really have been a strength, the Rutgers defense.
We've seen Rutgers break some of their tendencies on offense in their passing game. We're also seeing it with Pitt. So far, 3 or 4 passes, all to wide receivers, none to a tight end yet.
3 wideouts again for Pittsburgh. Now Webster coming in, and Van Pelt forced to unload that ball, and it falls short of DeVoe, incomplete. It looked like Rutgers wanted to let Van Pelt sit back there again. Made him do something a little quicker than he'd like to.
That was a screen pass they were trying to set up to the back coming out of the backfield, and normally you let that end guy on the line come free, and it's up to the quarterback to find, to create a throwing lane around the guy, either over him, around him, or under his arm. But Webster did a nice job really zeroing in on Van Pelt and forcing the bad throw.
For Van Pelt, both completions have been to Chris Boyer. Now facing 3rd down and 9. Going up to the end zone, has his tight end there, and it's caught for a touchdown. Dave Moore outfought Jay Bellamy for the football, and a 38-yard Pitt touchdown.
We've seen a real change so far in the first couple series for Pitt. The first time they go to the tight end, it's not a crossing route. It's not a short underneath route. It's a deep takeoff down the sideline. They've got him in man-to-man coverage against a safety, Bellamy. Bellamy is a very good free safety, but he's not accustomed to playing in man-to-man coverage. That time you could see he was not alert to try to turn and make a play on that ball because it's a different situation for him, running man-to-man with the receiver, trying to turn and find the football.
And Scott Kaplan adds the extra point, so Pittsburgh on the board first with 5:50 to play in the first quarter. Pittsburgh 7, Rutgers nothing, and we'll return to Pitt Stadium after these words from our local stations.
Presenting.
That was the 44th pass that Dave Moore has caught this year, but the first that he's caught for a touchdown.
Well, he's got to be real excited right now. He's had a great year as a receiver, but this time at the top of your screen, Dave Moore's off the line of scrimmage. Now they're bringing a blitz, and Dave Moore is going to run a takeoff down the sidelines, and that results in man-to-man coverage with a safety, Jay Bellamy. Again, Bellamy is a very good free safety, but he's unaccustomed to playing that kind of coverage against a guy like Dave Moore. They got the mismatch that they wanted because of the formation and also because of the defense called the blitz by Rutgers.
So it is Pittsburgh that strikes first, despite the fact that Rutgers had the beginnings of a couple of good drives going. But a turnover gave Pittsburgh back the ball, and now Don Silvestri will kick off. Gary Melton is deep along with Bill Bailey. For Rutgers, the Panthers have the first points. And when you've struggled offensively, as Rutgers has lately, anything against you increases that pressure to try and score. Little lane for Melton. Oh, and he broke it through, and he got tripped up. As he was about to challenge the kicker, he was tripped up by Doug Whaley, starting safety man, playing on kick coverage. But Melton gives Rutgers good field position at the 43.
This has been a problem area for Pitt all year. They're giving up an average of about 26 yards per punt return, and that's entirely too high in Paul Hackett's mind. He told me on Friday, he said, we need to play flawlessly in the special teams against Rutgers in order to win the football game. And running down on kickoffs is all a matter of discipline, staying in your lanes, and then being a sure tackler, breaking down and going to the football. That time, neither of those occurred for Pitt.
On first down, Craig Mitter gets the pitch. And Mitter runs hard across midfield. Craig Mitter, a junior from Matawan, New Jersey, in his first carry. Pittsburgh needing just 6 plays to go 62 yards for the score. Rutgers has had offensive struggles, but one thing Doug Graber has found this year, he's found some depth at running back. Bill Bailey was the starter this year, but he now is the third-team player behind Antoine Moore and Craig Mitter.
Both those guys have run well in the last several weeks. They just have not been able to put enough points on the scoreboard to really stay with that kind of running game for 4 quarters.
Oh, there's a good burst by Mitter, and now it's a race. And Lex Perkins saves 6. But Rutgers has a first down at the Pitt 14.
They've been waiting for this kind of production from Mitter. He's got 4.3 speed. Nice job there, just breaking a couple tackles. It was a trap on the inside to the left side of the offensive line, that reshuffled offensive line. And you can see Mitter has great speed when he got into the secondary. Watch, here it comes. Ken Damon, the right tackle, is going to seal in, and he just breaks a couple tackles. Charles Williams, the best tackler on the Pitt defense, the leader in that category, was out of position to make the play.
Oh, that one was almost picked off. Tinker Harris getting in the way of that slant in intended for Chris Brantley. And it's incomplete. But a 34-yard run by Mitter on the prior play has Rutgers set up.
They work on this play a lot, the quick slant. And you might say, well, Tarver threw another bad pass. This is more on the shoulders of the receiver, Brantley. When he runs the quick slant, he has to continue to cut the defender off on that short pass. He's got to keep the defender on his outside shoulder and not let him break inside to make a play on the ball. He faded away from the football at the very end. That allowed Harris to come in and make the play.
2nd and 10, and it's Moore running it. Antoine Moore down the sideline, and he's out at the 7. And Rutgers now will have 3rd down as Doug Graber looking out there and seeing his team try to stop this frustrating streak. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown since the 2nd quarter at Penn State.
And it really wears on your team from a confidence standpoint. Last week against West Virginia, opening drive, moved down the field all the way, miss a 3rd down play, then miss the field goal. That takes so much wind out of your sails. Then later in the game, they recover a fumble deep in West Virginia territory, get a touchdown called back, and have to settle for a field goal.
3rd and 3, they tried to power it and lose yards. Antoine Moore stacked up. Sean Gilbert led the defensive surge for Pitt. And Rutgers will be stopped shy and will be forced to attempt a field goal. And field goals have been a risky proposition this year for the Scarlet Knights.
Nice play by Gilbert. He was playing on the left side. He normally plays at the right defensive end position. That time he took on the block by Tim Christ, the right guard, stood him up and was right there waiting for the ball carrier.
John Benestad from Boca Raton, Florida, a sophomore. He has had some inconsistencies, 5 out of 11. He'll be 25 yards away. And that one is right through there. So Rutgers on the board, although they, I'm sure, are still saying, gosh, we could have put that one in. But they do get 3, and with 3:53 to go in the first quarter, it is now Pittsburgh 7, Rutgers 3. And we'll return with our Big East Conference Game of the Week after these messages. Steve Israel, another one of the good return men in the Big East Conference. This is a single deep safety, and he'll field this short kick from the 9. Oh, he's got room. They have an angle on it, but Israel runs it all the way to the Rutgers 37. Chris Brantley, speedy wide receiver, finally brought him down. But Pittsburgh answers with a big special teams play.
We talked about the importance of Rutgers winning the battle of field position by their special teams. First, they start with a short kick and get it in the hands of Israel, who's been a great returner all year. He's not even touched until he gets to the kicker. Good blocking by the Pitt kick team. Right there, he's got the kicker to beat. He beats him, and then touchdown saving tackle by Chris Brantley, really chasing him down on the sideline.
Well, you know what we see, Todd, this year? If you're a coach in the Big East Conference, you better find somebody on your campus that kick off deep. You just can't let these return men field kicks like Israel did there at the 10-yard line.
It really changes the complexion of the ball game, because if you don't have a guy who can kick it into the end zone, then you have to make the choice. Do we kick to him and hope that we can cover, or do we try to squib the ball or kick it to the sideline, which results a lot of times in the ball going out of bounds, and they still start with good field position.
Curtis Martin, oh, and here's a play. Andrew Beckett did not start with a bad back, but he does play here in the first quarter and makes the big play, dropping Martin for a loss. We had a chance to visit with Pitt coach Paul Hackett, and he told us what he felt the keys were for his team to beat Rutgers today.
This is a battle of 2 even teams. I mean, our record says that, but I think we're the same. We're searching. We're looking. Who's the one that's going to emerge? Who's going to put his head above it and get that winning season that we so desperately strive for after having the kind of years we had a year ago? So it's a very, very even ball.
2nd and 15, off the play fake. Oh, there's a great catch. Outstanding catch by Chris Boyer inside the 25. In a sea of white, the one blue shirt went up there and somehow held on to it.
Van Pelt has made up in his mind today that he's going to work the wide receivers. He's got good pass protection, a long time to stand in there and let the play develop, and he finds Boyer crossing the middle. Boyer's going to go back in the huddle and say, look, I came down with this one for you, Alex, but don't string me out like that again. I took a good shot from Bellamy in the back.
Martin straight ahead doesn't get much, and that's contrast the pass that Tarver threw down near the goal line. That's a catch. That's a play where the wide receiver makes the quarterback look good. He's over the middle going up there, and he knows he's going to get hit.
And the difference, too, you had Garantano running that route for Rutgers, who is 5'9", 5'10". That was Chris Boyer, 6'2", 190. He's a much bigger athlete, able to go up in a crowd and come down with that football.
And a hurdler in his high school days, so has the ability to get up. 2 minutes, 10 seconds to go in the first quarter. And Glenn DeVoe gets a carry, and he's dragged down by Webster. Ball to the 16, and Rutgers, Pittsburgh will have 3rd down and short yardage. 7-3 Pitt with 1:50 to go in the first quarter.
This has been an area where Pitt has struggled the last 5 or 6 weeks, not only in scoring territory, but in these 3rd down and short yardage situations.
Here we'll see, Todd, one of your keys. You said what Bill Myers wants to do today, run 3 tight ends. 3rd down and 2. And it's all for Curtis Martin. And I'm not sure he got there. Martin got injured in the first quarter of Pittsburgh's game at Notre Dame. He sprained his right big toe. And at the time, of course, Pitt was 5-0 heading into Notre Dame. They've lost 4 games without Martin. A true freshman from Pittsburgh. And now they're going to have to measure. But he didn't make it. So he's about a half a yard shy, and Paul Hackett will send the field goal team out. approval of the Pittsburgh fans.
A couple weeks ago against East Carolina, Pitt's offense rolled up a career high for total yardage, 523 yards, but on 2 crucial 4th down situations, they were stopped. I'm sure Paul Hackett has that in the back of his mind. Let's get 3 more points up on the board with the field goal. That lead would be pretty good right now in this ball game.
9 out of 15 for Kaplan. And that is no good. From 31, he misses, and Pittsburgh comes away empty. Well, that's a tough possession there. A great kick return, and Pittsburgh comes away with no points as they miss a 31-yard field goal. So it stays 7-3 Pitt with 1:18 to go in the first quarter. Yesterday, Paul Hackett had a chance to address that matter of scoring deep in the opposing team's territory.
Our offense, as you say, has got yardage. We're balancing it, but we get in that red zone. For some reason, we don't do the little things, whether it's the block on the run, whether it's sustaining the block on the run, whether it's the throwing and catching. We've missed numerous touchdown pass opportunities. You know, it just doesn't seem to be fitting together the way it was early in the year. And what we have to do is go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basics, keep it fairly straightforward, and just execute.
More on first down. That play looked like it was strung out nicely, but more knifed ahead to gain 5 before Sean Gilbert brings him down. We're in the final minute of the first quarter. Meanwhile, at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Boston College trying to win its 4th game, and they lead Temple in the first quarter. That's Big East action in the ACC. Virginia up early on North Carolina State. A lot of bowl implications riding on that ACC cap. And driving straight ahead and near a first down, Craig Mitter. Ken Rednick, outside linebacker for Pittsburgh, made the tackle. He's going to be just shy of the first down.
Rutgers is attacking this defense the same way Boston College did last week. BC ran the ball very well in the game last week. They gained 273 yards rushing. That was the 2nd highest total Pitt gave up after the Notre Dame ball game. And right now, Rutgers is getting some good yardage, particularly on the right side behind Chris and Alan Mitchell, the right tackle.
Oh, but there's a big play by Ricardo McDonald as he wraps up Mitter shy of a first down. So the 2nd time in this first quarter that Rutgers has tried to power straight ahead on 3rd and short yardage, and they've been stopped.
They have, and they've been kind of, you know, very predictable in that situation. That time Pitt guessed right with their defensive call. McDonald, as he needed to do in this ballgame, came up with the big play.
So it'll be 4th down and a yard for Rutgers when we come back. But after 1 quarter at Pitt Stadium, the Panthers lead the Scarlet Knights 7-3. We'll return with 2nd quarter action after these words from our local stations.
Because you believe these trucks shouldn't carry a spare tire.
It's the right rear now.
Because up here, crisp-tasting beer just comes naturally.
It's the right rear now.
Because when the whole gang gets together, there's no room for filling up. So reach for the Silver Bullet, the beer that won't weigh you down.
It's the right rear now. Coors Light, it's the right rear now.
We've shared the courage. We've shared the long hours. We've shared the commitment it takes to reinvent yourself in a place that's being reinvented. That's why one bank has been providing the financial support our town needs to renew itself and reshape its future. That bank is Pittsburgh National, a PNC bank.
Pittsburgh campus, the Panthers have a 7-3 lead, and they have made 2 big defensive plays in that first quarter to stop Rutgers on 3rd and short plays.
This is an attitude situation. 3rd down and short yardage. McDonald comes on an inside stunt, and he beats the tight end Dietrich to the play. Dietrich was a little late coming out of his stance. McDonald got a good jump off the football, beat him to the inside, and stopped the play.
Pittsburgh with a late substitution, getting their punt team on the field, and Lippitz gets the kick away, and Israel takes a fair catch at the Pitt 34. And we have a marker down as there was a little block there between Melton and Harris after the play.
What the penalty is going to be fair catch interference. They're going to call on Rutgers. Israel signaled for the fair catch.
John Sophie needs a sound check there. But,
well, I take that back.
yeah.
It wasn't fair catch interference. It was thrown right there at the spot where he caught the ball, and there was a Rutgers defender right there. It looked like he crowded Israel on the catch. There must have been a clip that occurred right behind the ball carrier.
So it will back up Pittsburgh.
First down.
Here's Israel going to make the catch, and right there it looked like Louis Bitto, number 59, was a little bit too close, and then the flag came out right in front of him.
Looked like they called Tinker Harris. He might have pushed Melton in the back as he was running down to cover that punt right in front of the official. So Van Pelt gives to Curtis Martin. Ooh, and Martin came very close. One trip up away from breaking that for big yardage. Rutgers ran it in the first quarter. Pittsburgh threw it. And the quarter came out pretty much even.
Good quarter for Rutgers running the football. They're only averaging 108 yards a game for 4 quarters, and they got 80 in that first period.
Goes Martin again. Flag down. And Martin down, shy of a first. Jay Bellamy made the tackle for Rutgers. Even though Kervin Richards left early. The penalty here is against Pittsburgh. Even though Kervin Richards left early for the National Football League, I think in the future, the next couple of years, Paul Hackett and the Pitt team's going to be pretty well stocked at the running back spot, with Williams just a sophomore and Martin a true freshman.
And you've got Tim Colicchio, who they're very high on right now. They were going to redshirt him, but they were forced to play him against Syracuse. He responded very well, running the ball very well against Syracuse and East Carolina. And now they've got Martin back healthy. And Martin is a guy who's only going to get better and better as each year goes by, because he only played 1 year of high school football.
Holding on the offense. Still second down.
So Rutgers will take the penalty. That is remarkable that a young man could play 1 year, as Martin did here at Alderdice High School in Pittsburgh, and step in and have an immediate impact at a major college program.
He was the City League Player of the Year as a senior in high school with only 1 year of experience, and they played pretty good football here in that City League here at Pittsburgh.
So Pitt back now to the 16-yard line. They have 2nd and 13. Oh, there's a drop ball that Van Pelt covers it up. Handoff not smooth between Van Pelt and Martin, and it's another 5-yard loss.
One of the things they were a little bit worried about with Curtis Martin being back in, they were glad that he was healthy, but they knew that he would be a little rusty because he hasn't played for 3 weeks. That time right there, an obvious miscommunication in the backfield resulting in the fumble.
3rd and 17. So now the ball marked at the 12-yard line, so it's 3rd and 17. 3 receivers. Rutgers rushing 4. And that one is caught, but shy of the first down. Nice catch by Bill Davis. But Tim Geckler, in as the nickel back for Rutgers, made a good tackle by the neck there and dragged him out of bounds shy of the first.
Again, Rutgers does not blitz. They drop in coverage. Van Pelt then looks to his wide receivers. You got an underneath route and a deep route. Van Pelt goes to Davis. Geckler, good coverage on the play, actually tried to go for the deflection or the interception, came in front of it. Davis, nice job concentrating on the football and keeping his feet in bounds. Gets it up in better situation to punt the football.
Marshall Roberts deep. Leon Theodoro does the punting for Pitt. And Roberts going to have a chance to run this back. It's 32. Run back, and Roberts crosses midfield, and that's going to be a 20-yard return. And Rutgers will start in Pitt territory. Early second quarter, Pitt leading 7-3. And we'll be back with our Big East Conference Game of the Week after these messages.
We exercise, we eat right, we even quit smoking. So, hopefully we're going to live longer, maybe a lot longer. Then one day it hit us. Have we saved enough to live to be 80 or 90 or maybe even 100 years old?
It took time and hard work. No one had ever done it before. The technology that combined front-wheel drive and multi-link suspension simply didn't exist. 5 years later, there is the Infiniti G20 midsize luxury sedan. And the chance to discover what's already been called one of the best handling cars in the world is right around the corner.
At the conclusion of every game televised by the Big East Conference Network, we'll select the Infiniti Player of the Game, a selection which is part of Infiniti's sponsorship of Big East Conference football. Both teams have had good field position through much of this first half. Been relatively low scoring given that fact, 7-3 Pittsburgh. But here is Rutgers after a 20-yard return of a punt by Marshall Roberts, starting at the Pitt 48. Tom Tarver, the quarterback. Craig Minner is the lone setback. And Minner's going to turn the corner and be run out inside the 30. Lex Perkins again made a saving push there along that sideline, and Minner gains 20 on the first play.
Another good run to get him in deep in territory, but what set it up was the punt return by Marshall Roberts, and he's been doing this all year. He's averaging 13.7 per return. He's not as fast as Kevin Williams of Miami, but the one thing he does as a good punt returner is he's always running north and south. He's moving the ball forward. Now here's the play right after that. Mitter, the back with the speed. He's the one tailback who really has the breakaway speed. Turns the corner on the Pitt defense.
Oh, big room up the middle. And Mitter is down near the 10. Well, this is sure disturbing to Pittsburgh. In 2 plays, again, Rutgers, a team like Boston College last week that has not run extremely well, is chewing up big chunks of yardage.
But I think one of the things that's improved their running game is this guy, Craig Mitter, the fact that he is getting more into the flow of the offense and understanding what they're trying to do. He played at Nassau Community College last year. This is his first year in the Rutgers program, and he's had a little bit of a problem catching on to how they're doing things. But in the last couple of weeks, he's shown a lot of promise as a running back.
Here's Rutgers again with a chance to put it in the end zone. First down is the Pitt 12. Carver waving people around and gives to Moore, but whistles blow, and they didn't get the playoff in time. But Tarver making a change there at the line, and that'll cost Rutgers 5.
He had to move his wide receiver, Chris Brantley, over to the other side. They were not lined up in the proper formation, and then it was a decision, can I get this play off or do I need to call a timeout? Tarver didn't want to waste the timeout, thought he could get the play off. He still thinks he got it off in time.
This just has to be extremely frustrating for Doug Graber, because you watch it every time your team gets down close now. It seems like you have to make a play. Somebody has to make a play somewhere, and you can't get it done.
And then you shoot yourself in the foot like this. You back it up 5 more yards, now you're first and 15.
Carver looking out the flat to tight end Chris Stoll, and they get the penalty back to the 12. It'll be 2nd and 10. We've played 3 minutes of the second quarter. 7-3 Pittsburgh, and we asked Doug Graber before the game to assess his quarterback situation coming into the game.
Well, we're struggling. You know, Tom Tarver, our starter, has been hurt since the Duke game, and he's just not as mobile as anywhere close to what he was. And you know, we've been inconsistent there now. And Derek McCord, our left-hander, has also been inconsistent. So I think, you know, we're going to play both of them today, and whichever one gets the hot hand, that's the one that's we're going to go with.
And right now, Tom Tarver's hoping he'll be the guy. He's had some chances here. And now comes up from the line and takes a timeout with a 2nd and 10 situation. Pittsburgh leading 7-3 in the second quarter. Will return after these words from our local stations.
Hungry? Would you raid the fridge of a bachelor friend? Or go home to Mom's, where you have more choices? Most of us go for choices. So would you use the yellow pages with fewer choices? Or the yellow pages with the most choices? The book 9 out of 10 people reach for. You can make your choice. I've made mine. The genuine Bella, Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. 9 out of 10 use it. No other book can match it. A Bell Atlantic company.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. Valvoline has. You learn in the lab, you learn on the road, you learn on the racetrack. As you learn, you make your product better. And better and better. Today's Valvoline will keep your engine cleaner than ever before. And cleaner means more protection against engine wear. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
Well, for the Scarlet Knights, the opportunity again to end a long siege of frustration. They've gone 11-plus quarters without an offensive touchdown. So what was Stan Parrish thinking about doing inside the 20-yard line today?
Well, he said they were going to be more aggressive. You might see us throw the ball more and do more naked bootlegs. We've seen 3 or 4 bootlegs already. The last play, Tarver rolled out on a naked and hit the tight end for a short gain.
Stan Parrish, the offensive coordinator. 2nd and 10. Swing to T.K. Dorsey, and that's smothered by Tom Tumblety, freshman linebacker. That play will lose a yard and leave Rutgers 3rd and 11.
Not only does Pittsburgh have some young backs to build around their offense and their running game, they've also got some good young linebackers. Tumblety is a true freshman. Charles Williams, the other starter, is a sophomore. And Tumblety says, you know, this has been like a dream for me. Last year I was playing against Pittsburgh Central Catholic and thought that was a big game. Now I'm playing against teams like Notre Dame and Syracuse and other Division I programs. He said it's been a dream season for me to this point.
Rutgers hasn't made a 3rd down yet. 3rd and 11 here. Tarver, and that is caught by Garantano at the 1-yard line. And they convert a big 3rd down there. Garantano makes the catch for 1st and goal.
Great route, great throw, and great catch. All the exclamations on this time. A lot of times on 3rd down when they roll Tarver out, they just try to throw a short route out in the flat. This time they ran a deep out with Garantano. Nice job making the break and then coming back to the quarterback in the football, narrowing that distance of the throw.
Now 1st and goal at the 1. And it's Dorsey in front, Moore over, and no, he didn't make it. Oh, it looked like he had gotten over, but no. And Pittsburgh stops the 1st down play. Tumblety leading the surge.
I think the official on this side of the field had a better angle of it. Look, the official from the bottom of your screen had a better angle of whether he got into the end zone or not. He's up and over, and it looks to me like he crossed the plane of the end zone, and then he was driven back. The receiver on the other, or the official on the other end who came in to make the play, his vision was blocked a lot more than the official on the near side.
And now they do get in. Tarver sneaks it in for the Rutgers touchdown. After 11-plus quarters, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights offense puts the ball in the end zone with a 48-yard drive. And Rutgers has its first lead at 9-7.
And that will do wonders for the confidence level of the entire football team. This quarterback sneak for a touchdown by Tom Tarver for the offense. Their first touchdown in a long time. You know, they've played hard in almost every ball game, but when they don't score points, when they miss field goals, or when they don't score touchdowns when they have the opportunities, it just frustrates the team. You know that you played hard and you hung in there, but you go in at halftime behind on the scoreboard.
John Benestad's extra point gives Rutgers a 3-point lead. So it's 10-7 Rutgers with 10:32 to go in the first half. And we'll be back to Pitt Stadium with more of our Big East Conference Game of the Week after these messages.
We didn't look at it like everyone else. That was too confining. Instead, we opened up the Infiniti G20 with a luxurious cabin-forward design and the exhilaration of a 140 horsepower engine. It's designed to give you breathing room and take your breath away, all at the same time.
Dan Larson knows a secluded course where the holes are challenging, but the fees aren't. Now, where do you suppose he'd rent a car? Budget, where every rental passes 25 quality checks and price is not a handicap. The smart money is on budget. Now through December 15th, ask about a free upgrade at any of our 125 Florida locations. The smart money is on budget.
Rutgers with its first lead, and that doesn't, I think those are Pittsburgh fans. They don't look extraordinarily happy about what's going on right here. Well, Pittsburgh's season started off 5-0, and there was a lot of hope here, and two very disheartening late second losses for the Panthers cast a tough pall over their season. Now they're fighting to keep a winning record going. Let's see how Rutgers went down the field to finally put it in the end zone. Rutgers finally put it in, but you know, Pittsburgh hasn't excelled at putting it in the end zone themselves in recent weeks.
Well, that's exactly right. And Paul Hackett addressed that problem in the red zone. You know, the thing that's interesting, Pitt is second in the Big East in total offense as well as passing offense, but they're fifth in scoring. Now that's compared to Miami, who is first in both offense and passing, but also is first in scoring, averaging 37.4 points per game.
This time, Rutgers covers the kick well, and Steve Israel is brought down, and Craig Minter, the running back, who's had a good first half, was down there on the kick coverage team and made the play. And Pittsburgh will start just across the 20-yard line. At the Vet in Philadelphia, BC up on Temple in the Big East Conference play. Florida State with a field goal in Tallahassee to take the lead, and Minnesota with the same over Ohio State for the Big Ten. And Virginia, well, Virginia may lock themselves into a bowl game today if they can beat NC State. The Big East like to be able to see Virginia Tech stay in bowl consideration with a strong finish. The Hokies 4-4, and they're playing in Blacksburg today against Akron. Dietrich Gels cannot get a foot down. That's out of bounds, incomplete. Next week, Virginia Tech gets a chance to make a mark for the conference. They'll host East Carolina in Blacksburg. And the Hokies haven't lost a game at home this year.
No, and I'm going to go on record of saying right now that I believe that Virginia Tech will win that football game as well. I think they're playing extremely well, and I think that East Carolina will be ripe for the upset in that ball game.
And if Virginia Tech, and they are favored today to beat Akron, Virginia Tech, if they could win next week, would take a 6-4 mark into their season-ending showdown with Virginia. Jermaine Williams on the pitch, and Rutgers, a couple of good defensive plays here. That's Todd Lane, inside linebacker. Willingboro, New Jersey, the senior, made the first play there, and Pittsburgh will have third and long.
Rutgers is doing a nice job right now of stemming into their defensive fronts. They're lining up in a basic 3-4 look, and then they're jumping into an 8-man line when they think it's a run. Watch, right before the snap, you see the two tackles crack down. Now they got 8 men around the football. And that running play just does not have enough people to block it when you have that many people on the line of scrimmage. But they're waiting until Van Pelt gets into his snap count so that he can't audible out of the play.
DeVoe's the only running back on 3rd and 9. Out of a straight route. Good crossing pattern, and Dietrich Gels has the first down for Pittsburgh. Again, Van Pelt had time and he's able to deliver a pass with precision.
Great pass protection is the key to what he's been able to do down the field right now. And you've got a couple new guys in there. Reuben Brown is starting at left tackle. Jeff Christie moved from left tackle to right guard, and you've got a new left guard. Lawson Malika is starting at left guard in the place of Gary Gorjeski, who's got an injured ankle. But they're providing excellent protection right now for Van Pelt, and he's able to work the ball downfield to his wide receivers.
Well, a 20-yard gain and a first down for Pitt at their 42. Williams had nothing inside, tries it outside. Gains just a couple. Across the 45. Jermaine Williams played as a freshman 2 years ago in Pittsburgh, that was redshirted last year with an injured ankle. So he'll still have 2 years of eligibility remaining. With Martin and Colicchio. Foundation for a pretty good running game. And next year, Pitt will have Van Pelt as a senior. And Van Pelt next year, he's playing here at Pitt, will pass a lot of Dan Marino's records. Here comes a blitz, and it's Boyer with the catch, and a nice spin, and 2 of them before he finally goes down inside the Rutgers 40.
Great play by Alex Van Pelt. He made that play happen at the line of scrimmage. Again, Rutgers shifted their defense into the 8-man front, and Van Pelt checked his cadence and checked to a quick middle screen to the wide receiver. That's man-to-man coverage. Marshall Roberts has given him a lot of room because it's all man-to-man. But that time, the defense shifted down, and Van Pelt waited for it to happen. Then look at him. He rose up, changed the play at the line of scrimmage, go to a quick pass to my wide receiver.
Here's a reverse, Dietrich Gels. Nice punt by Gels inside, and that'll be a first down to the 28 of Rutgers. Time looking at the way Van Pelt's throwing the ball today. Coming into this game, Pittsburgh had only completed 35% of its passes to its wide receivers this year. Now in this game, he's throwing probably 75% of the passes so far have been going to the wideouts.
They had a definite plan of doing that. It's been very obvious here in the first half, and they're getting great pass protection, working some deep crossing routes down the field, and he's got some skilled people. Boyer and Gels both have very good speed and the ability to get open.
Rutgers with a 10-7 lead, but Pittsburgh moving. There, Williams stopped. Spun around, Mike Spitzer and George Stewart were also in on the play.
The reason Bill Myers talked about wanting to run the ball and control the game by gaining over 200 yards rushing is because they didn't want to put all the pressure on Van Pelt. He's had a couple games this year where he's thrown the ball for over 300 yards, but Myers feels that when they throw for over 300 yards, then that means we got a better chance of losing the football game. We need to control it with our running game. It's not happening today. They're not running the ball very effectively, but Van Pelt is making up for it by getting some big chunks of yardage downfield to his wideouts.
3 wideouts in here on 2nd and 9. A quick hit to Junior Green. Trying to break the tackle. Marshall Roberts cannot. So he's pushed forward to the 21. Pittsburgh will have a 3rd down and short yardage play facing them with 6:40 to go in the first half. Program trying to rebound under Paul Hackett's leadership from a little bit of a down cycle in the late 80s and into the early 90s. Preseason goal was a bowl bid. That is a distant shot right now. 3rd down and 3. And that's low and skips in incomplete. Intended for Eric Seaman. Tight end in the flat. So Rutgers defense holds, and that'll force Pitt to attempt a game-tying field goal.
One of the first bad passes Alex has thrown today. He knew that he had what he wanted there. They ran off the coverage with the wide receiver, brought the tight end underneath for the short pass, pick up the first down, and just kind of tried to guide that ball in there, threw the ball low to Seaman.
Scott Kaplan will try this one from 38. He's missed earlier from 31. And that one should be there, and it is. So Kaplan kind of walks that one through from 38 yards to tie the game. With 6 minutes and 2 seconds remaining in the first half. A 10-10 game at Pitt Stadium, and will return after these messages. They'll be playing Boston College next Saturday at 12 noon in our Big East Conference game of the week. Now Silvestri kicking this one away from Gary Melton. It's Bill Bailey to run this. And there's a good crease for him. And Bailey runs it back across the 35. Kickoff. So far, neither coach going to be very happy with their special teams coverage in this first half. Good kick and punt returns by both teams.
Well, Pitt has just had problems. You can see their team running down. They've got to be disciplined to stay in their lanes. They all got bunched up there around the middle of the field, and that allowed the wall to be set up for Rutgers on the left sideline. got to stay disciplined and focused running down the field, staying in your lanes, and then adjusting to where the ball is kicked. That time, about 4 or 5 of the guys for Pitt got bunched up in the middle, allowed that wall to get set up on the left sideline.
Here's Tarver throwing, and it's incomplete to Garantano on the near side. Well, Rutgers, after a touchdown on its last possession, starting with good field position once again. Tom Tarver, what is he wearing there? Kind of just looks like a vinyl outfit as you see Pittsburgh scoring a drive. That was the scoring drive for the Pittsburgh touchdown earlier in the game. Tarver slides down across the 40, shy of a first down. What is that thing, Todd? Do you have any idea what he's wearing underneath his jersey?
I'm not exactly sure. It looks like it's just like a windbreaker type jacket to try to keep some of that heat inside his body and keep his arm warm and his shoulder loose. He's also got the wristband there on his left arm with the plays written on it. So that's really the most important piece of clothing that he's wearing right now as far as Doug Graber is concerned. You know, Stan Parrish said that Tom is the healthiest that he's been in a long time, and that time it showed. He showed pretty decent mobility, picking up some positive yardage, running out of the pocket.
And now Rutgers has 3rd and 5 with Antoine Moore behind Tarver. 3 receivers. Here's his Lance Avina. That's a first down for the Scarlet Knights. Avina catching it. Junior from Berwick, Pennsylvania. And it's first down just shy of midfield. And here's Pittsburgh's drive for the field goal, 58 yards. So they've had 2 good drives in this game. And a 47-yard drive on their first possession. They did not net any points. 4.5 to go in the first half. Tied at 10 at Pitt Stadium. And that one's, well, let's see. That looked like it skipped in, but I'm going to call it a catch right now to Garantano.
One thing that is obviously different with this Pitt ball club is that without Keith Hamilton in the lineup, they just are not the same kind of team rushing the passer. We'll see this throw. It's just a quick 3-step drop, throwing the hook pattern. And Garantano made the catch. He got his hands under it, but his knee was down on the ground. That's why the quick whistle, they called it down right at the spot. But without Keith Hamilton in the lineup, they just don't have the ability to consistently put pressure on the quarterback. Tarver has been sacked 26 times this year, 9 times in the last 2 weeks. But so far today, they've had very good protection.
Tarver going down the sidelines, and he has Avina open, and the ball's picked off. Caught in the air by Tinker Harris of Pittsburgh. That'll actually, I would think, be a catch and a fumble after Avina was hit, and Tinker Harris picked it up in midair.
Very nice throw by Tarver. Again, good protection, and they've got Avina running down the sidelines. Now he makes the catch, and right there's the hit by Whaley coming in the strong safety, and the ball takes a great bounce right into the hands of Tinker Harris. It was actually Lex Perkins, the free safety, number 3, who came in and made the hit. It wasn't a real severe hit, but he kind of got his elbow and his shoulder right in there on the football and knocked it loose.
And so that will be a completed pass to Avina and a fumble that is recovered by Tinker Harris. So Pitt has it at the 15, 3:38 to go in the half. Curtis Martin in trouble and dropped for a loss. Dave in first for Rutgers. So the second big turnover that Pittsburgh has garnered in the first half to help themselves. At halftime, we'll have the Coors Light Report. We'll look back at last week's Big East Conference games. If any one person helped put Pitt football back on the map and in the minds of everyone in the nation in the 70s, it was Tony Dorsett. We'll look at his great career. We'll also talk with Paul Hackett, all coming up at halftime. 3 minutes to go in the half. Pitt has 2nd and 13. Help to Dave Moore. And he's going to be out near a first down. Malik Jackson made the tackle for Rutgers, and that's going to be, I believe, a first down for Pitt across the 25. Well, Rutgers in a 10-10 game, they've got to be thinking, gosh, you know, we've turned the ball over now twice in Pitt territory. Otherwise, we'd have a chance to have a lead going in the locker room.
And they've had that scenario a couple times this season where realistically they should have gone in at halftime well up on their opponent. And again, they're not in that situation right now, 10-10, with a lot of time left for Alex Van Pelt in this offense.
Rutgers again shifting, a lot of people up on the line. They're coming in, and that ball tipped. And caught anyway by Martin. And Curtis Martin on the play only gains a couple of yards before Keith Bryant makes the play. Rutgers did a nice job. A lot of pressure on Van Pelt, and they were still out to defend the pass.
The reason you call a play like this is exactly why. It's because of what Curtis Martin does. It's a 8-man defense, and it's just a real short pass to the back, but you figure he can make one guy miss. If we can get the ball to him out there with a defender coming at him, he can make a guy miss, turn it into a positive gain. That's exactly what happened, despite the deflection by Sean Williams.
Second down and 8, and now a handoff to Martin. And he'll get a first down, so that'll stop the clock for a moment for Pitt. At 1:41, the Panthers have all 3 timeouts remaining. And now they're moving the ball out nearly to their 40-yard line. 10-10 game.
They're on 39.
Pitt could score here. We have to feel real good about their first half, given the fact that Rutgers moved the ball very well. Pitt could have the lead going off. 2 tight ends and a handoff again. Nope, that's a play fake. And Van Pelt, he's got a man wide open. And Bill Davis just could not catch up off his fingertips.
You've got in this ball game 2 quarterbacks that are outstanding ball handlers. We've seen it by both of them today. Paul Hackett thinks Alex Van Pelt may be the best in the country at this. That's perfectly set up. Bill Davis is going to run the post, and you can see the secondary. Both safeties were totally sucked in by the run fake, and that's just running all by yourself out there for Bill Davis.
See, I don't feel so bad now. I figure I'm going to get hit once. I'm going to get hit once a game by Van Pelt, too.
Go lost down!
Well, that was 6 points. Easy, but just off the fingertips of Bill Davis. Now second down and 10. A little quick pass. That'll be a first down for Pittsburgh as Dane Moore takes it across midfield. So the Panthers are moving with 1:08 to play in the half. They have 3 timeouts. Now having crossed midfield, they're in good shape. Plenty of time.
That's Pitt's style in their hurry-up offense, or the 2-minute offense. The first play on first down, they like to try to throw the ball deep. They went with play action through deep. Now they come back underneath to pick up the first down. Now they're into their hurry-up set.
Deep drop. That's caught by Moore. And Malik Jackson just got enough for Moore to slow him down, but he goes to the 41. 55 seconds as Pittsburgh stops the clock with their first timeout.
Dave Moore, the leading receiver on the ball club's already caught 1 long touchdown today, just running a simple crossing route. Malik Jackson is in good position to keep that to a minimal gain. But with 3 timeouts remaining, you can afford to throw the ball in the middle of the field like that. Van Pelt is very good in this situation, running the 2-minute offense. He knows that he's got 55 seconds. Now he's got 2 timeouts left. He can even throw the ball. He doesn't have to throw it to the end zone or to the sideline necessarily, because he's got those 2 timeouts.
Well, here at Pitt Stadium, the Panthers try to take the lead off field into the locker room. Trying to please a little bit of a demanding, you're familiar with this area, not as demanding football crowd in this town, isn't it?
It really is, and I think a lot was expected too after the great start, being 5-0 and then going into a 4-game losing skid. I think that it's, you know, it's caused some problems, and some people are second guessing a lot of things, but this is still the same football team. They lost 2 heartbreaking games back to back. Then they came out and did not play very well after that against BC. This is a much better football team, a much more prepared football team today that we're seeing than we saw last week against Boston College.
Each of these teams had a very different method of preparing for this game. We get into the second half, a little bit of a strange Sunday night workout for Pittsburgh. had. 3 wide receivers for Van Pelt. And he throws it down the sideline for Boyer. Great catch by Boyer. And he's out of bounds at the 5 with a first down. Boy, has Boyer made some fine first half grabs.
He looked that one in all the way. You've got twin receivers, Davis and Boyer, working against bump and run, and they run a little crisscross. It's almost like a little pick, but it's just enough to get Boyer out in front of Price, the defensive back. Then he does a nice job really keeping his eye on the football all the way, looking it in. They got up in that bump and run coverage, Rutgers did, and they just ran a real quick cross, and it was just enough to kind of knock Price off and give Boyer the step advantage going down the field.
First and goal called to 6, 48 seconds. A good play fake, Van Pelt to keep it. And he's in for the Pittsburgh touchdown. Now Pittsburgh with a very impressive drive down the field of 85 yards. And they take the lead with 42 seconds remaining in the half.
Very impressive drive. Alex Van Pelt made a lot of good plays. Another good fake on the play action bootleg. Now he's looking for his tight end, and at that point he tells his guard, Jeff Christie, says, hey, let's just run it in. They gave him the room to run. He's not noted for his running ability, but with a big hoss like Christie out in front of him and the end zone only 5 yards away, he decided to go ahead and score it himself. Good decision by Van Pelt.
So 42 seconds remaining in the half. Pittsburgh goes the length of the field, capping it off with Van Pelt's run. And now Kaplan will try to add the 17th point.
And one of the keys of the ball game for Pitt was to get back into that mode of creating turnovers on defense. That's what set this drive up. Rutgers was moving down the field. They got the interception or fumble, whatever you want to call it, when Tinker Harris came up with the football. That set it up, got the momentum going for the offense.
17-10 for Pitt with 42 seconds to play in the half. If you look at what has done a big factor in Pitt's season this year now with the turnovers in this game, they are now plus 11 in turnovers for the season.
Again, Van Pelt running the naked bootleg. He's got Jeff Christie, his best offensive lineman, the best all-around athlete, right out in front of him, and he gives him a personal escort into the end zone. Christie's an interesting guy. He started at 4 or 5 different positions in his career at Pitt. Linebacker, fullback, tight end. Now he's back on the offensive line, and that'll probably be the position he plays in the National Football League.
Wait, what does the Van Pelt have under his left arm? I'm asking the quarterback.
Oh, under his left arm. No, that's his hand warmer. That's his muff that he wears around his waist. He just takes it off when he's on the sideline, but that's what he wears to keep those hands warm.
It's a whole new line. It's a whole new line of equipment just for quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks and punters, that's who wears those muffs.
All right, here's the kickoff. It is deemed to Bill Bailey from the goal line for Rutgers. And Bailey, that's tripped up as he crosses the 25. Rutgers now with 37 seconds and 2 timeouts. Coming up at halftime, our Coors Light report will review last week's Big East action. We'll look back at the great career of Heisman Trophy winner Tony Dorsett here in Pittsburgh. And we'll profile Paul Hackett. A lot of people don't realize that this school has an outstanding football tradition. The great Jock Sutherland coached here in the 30s. And Pittsburgh was one of the powers of college football. They had a long dry spell in the 60s and into the early 70s. And a young man named Dorsett put this school back on the map. People moving here on first down.
Flag on the field.
It appeared a Rutgers offensive lineman moved first. We'll see.
It's a dead ball foul. You have encroachment, contact by the defense. The back is allowed to move.
Okay. The reason they called that is because, just what he said, the back is allowed to move because he also has the ability to reset. The Pitt defense responded when Mitter moved, and they jumped off. Ricardo McDonald jumped off sides and made contact on the offensive line.
First down plays have been good for Rutgers, but here with 37 seconds, they need to think about passing the ball, moving it. They do have 2 timeouts. They run. Craig Mitter. And get nothing. Jeff Esters on the defensive line for Pitt made the play. And Rutgers content to take it off the field here at 17-10. And in fact, the Scarlet Knights do not have to run another play. And they'll make no effort to. So the first half will end after Rutgers had a brief 10-7 lead. Pitt got the last 10 points. And as teams head to the locker room, it is a Pittsburgh lead of 17-10.
Better this first half than we've seen him the last couple weeks, and I think his mobility is much better at this point than it's been all year. But we still may see Derek McCord here some point in the second half.
That kick drives Israel into the end zone, and he will stop there. So a good kick by John Benestad. That will force Pitt to start from the 20-yard line. You see the 2 quarterbacks. Tom Tarver, well, he got about 38 yards or something in West Virginia last week, so already much better than that. The key for Rutgers to try and slow Van Pelt down somehow.
He's had a great first half, and you know, I figured that he would respond this way after last week's game. He was picked off 3 times at Boston College and just played his poorest game of the year, and he has really responded like a champion and like a leader this week.
And on first down, Curtis Martin gets the call. Todd Lane the tackle. Curtis Martin carried 7 times in the first half for just 10 yards.
He appeared to be a little bit tentative, you know, just getting back in there, getting back into full contact action, and you can start running and practicing. But when you haven't played in a game for 3 or 4 weeks, it's a whole different thing when you get on the field and it's live, full go against a hungry defensive opponent. And I think he just took a while to get back into the flow of that. He's a little rusty and was running a little tentative there in the first half.
Even more so, I'd imagine, if you haven't played much football in your life. Curtis Martin only played a year of high school ball. Second down 4. There's a lot of people up front, and the pass is caught by Gilles, and now Rutgers got to wrap them up, and they do at the 45. That's a first down. Keith Price finally brings down another freshman and a true freshman. 3 of them play on this Pittsburgh offense.
Alex Van Pelt is taking control of this shifting by Rutgers now. They got in that 8-man front again, and he audibles to a quick throw to his wide receiver. Now, the reason that it's a gamble to play that defense is it's man-to-man bump and run coverage, and if you miss a tackle like they did right there, a 5-6 yard pass can turn into a big play, especially with a guy with as much speed as Dietrich Gilles.
Martin running now with some room. Curtis Martin to the 46 of Rutgers. And it's Price having to come up from the secondary to make the stop, and he's not getting up real quickly. Keith Price is replacing senior Ron Allen in the secondary for Rutgers. Allen hasn't played since Penn State game. And Price is just 5'8", 170 pounds. And we've seen teams, Todd, go after him. Tried to pick on him. He's held his own pretty well.
He really has. You know, he's a smaller guy. He's not very tall, and he's not very heavy, but he's a pretty tough player, and teams have picked on him, but he's held his ground. This time, I think he just catches his own teammate, Todd Lane, number 55, came in and caught him in the helmet right there. You can see right at the end of the play, there's Price helmet to helmet with Todd Lane, and that's where he got shaken up on the play.
And of course, this really stretches Rutgers' depth a little bit there. One problem that Doug Graber has had to confront in his 2 years at Rutgers has been depth. Trying to add recruits and add strength to a ball club that may suffer sometimes in the past when they've had to go to the second team. And here's now Price. If he is shaken up, that would bring them into a 3rd string situation at a cornerback spot.
That position, as well as the defensive line, has really been hit hard by the injuries for this team, and they can ill afford to lose him for more than, you know, a series or 2. Pitt has made an interesting substitution right now. They've brought in another tight end, Rob Coons, number 81, and supposedly he's not played much this year. Had an injury to a hand, and he got the cast off 2 weeks ago. But he supposedly has the best speed of all the tight ends. And now what we have here is a 2nd and short yardage situation. We may see a play-action pass. Alex Van Pelt trying to go to this new tight end, down the field.
Ball's at the Rutgers 46-yard line. It is 2nd down and 2. Curtis Martin is the setback of the 3 tight ends in the game. Play fake. Whoa, Van Pelt had to get rid of it quickly, and Coons breaks off the hit of Malik Jackson. And he is down inside the 30 before Tim Keckler brings him down.
They're real high on this guy. He hasn't played much at all. He transferred from Fullerton, California Junior College, and it's a little bootleg. You see the camera got lost with it, but Van Pelt had to get rid of it early, dumps it to Coons, and then Coons shows some excellent ability running with the football after he catches it, and I think that's why they like him so much. Seaman and Moore are both very dependable receivers, but this guy shows a little bit of flair running the football once he catches it.
Now inside handoff to Glenn DeVoe, and he pulls his way to the 20. Now Seaman and Moore are both seniors, so there will be an opportunity next year for Rob Coons. He'll have a year left to make an impact. Right now, if you're the Rutgers side of the field, you have to be a little concerned. You're down 7, and Pittsburgh has the ball at the 21-yard line. And if the Panthers score again, you're looking at a tough situation for a team that's been struggling for points.
Struggling for points and not a good comeback football team. They've got to stay close at this point in the ball game.
I believe that was Coons that we saw on the sideline being tended to.
False start.
We've got
by the offense. 5-yard penalty, a lineman picked up.
There is Rob Coons, who is being looked at after his first collegiate catch. And Pittsburgh will be penalized 5. Let's hope Rob Coons can remember that catch.
He looks like he got his bell rung a little bit right there.
So the ball back now to the 26-yard line. 17-10 Pitt, 12:20 to go in the 3rd. Swing out here to Martin. He's got a lot of room. Gell's trying to block for him. And Martin is corralled by the neck and run out by Jay Bellamy at the 10. Play there by Pitt, and a lot of room for Curtis Martin.
Rutgers tried to gamble that time. They tried to come after Van Pelt. They weren't able to put much pressure on him in the first half. They brought a lot of people this time. They got up in that 8-man front and came after Van Pelt. And Alex does a nice job of just getting rid of the football to the back. Watch, they're going to come with the rush. Just enough time to slip it out there. And what happened was an inside linebacker who has to be responsible in coverage for Curtis Martin there got hung up on the inside.
Ooh, Martin tripped up as he crossed the line. Jamil Jackson kind of flipped him up in the air, and then he was finished off by Jay Bellamy, and it would be 2nd and goal. We asked Paul Hackett about the veteran Pitt players who endured a lot of tough times through their careers and whether he felt they needed to step up and make a difference today.
I think you have to rely on your more veteran players, your seniors, your group, as you say, that have been in more battles. They've got to say, hey, it's time for me to make a play. Give me the ball. Let me get us over the hump. Our young players, I think, have performed very well, and I think that they have improved every game, particularly our running backs, inside linebacker, Tom Timilton. But you're right. When it gets down and it gets toughest and it gets the most tense, that's when we've got to rely on the experience, and that's what's got to happen today.
Rutgers all over that play. Curtis Martin showed some outstanding ability.
Exact same play. Another check at the line of scrimmage by Alex Van Pelt. They've informed him from the sideline when they jump into that Bear defense, either do one of two things. Let's either throw man-to-man out routes to our wide receiver out there and let him make a play, or let's run a little quick flare to the tailback coming out of the backfield.
Martin could have been smothered for a loss there. He actually gained a yard. And it's 3rd and goal now, almost 7 yards away. Curtis Martin, the only back. And Pelt the naked boot. Going to keep it. And he's tripped up. Sean Williams made a good open field hit on Van Pelt to bring him down at the 3.
Good play by Sean Williams, but also very good coverage by the defensive secondary. Chris Boyer was the primary receiver in that, working to the back corner of the end zone. They had him. They also had the tight end Seaman covered. Good fake, but Rutgers read it right away. Watch, you see the fake, then they read it, then they drop back into their coverage. They're waiting, and Sean Williams, it's a little cat and mouse game right there. Van Pelt ran one in on him the last series. That time he stayed and waited, forced him back to the inside, tripped him up short of the goal line.
So Scott Kaplan on for the field goal try for 20 yards. It is good. So Kaplan is now 2 out of 3 in the game, but the Rutgers defense makes a very necessary stop. And with 9:52 to go in the third, Pitt's lead is now 20-10 and will return to Pitt Stadium. Happy fans after these messages.
Moves to the inside. Now he's diving into the pit. Let's go down to Bob.
Earnhardt's pulling in the pit. I'm going to try to get a word with him. Dale, why are you stopping at the GM dealership?
The fast or free guarantee.
Fast or free?
Yep, my GM dealer does a complete GM oil change and lube in 29 minutes or less, or the next one's free. Whoop, gotta go.
And Earnhardt's back in record time.
Your GM dealer's serious about putting service back in the service department, so try Mr. Goodwrench Quick Lube Plus for a change.
Well, for Pittsburgh, it's good news, bad news scenario. The good news, they took the second half kickoff and went 77 yards. The bad news, they only got 3 points out of it. How does that change Rutgers' thinking now? 10 points. They're 2 scores down for the first time.
Well, I think, first of all, they cannot afford to let it get any bigger of a lead than this 10 points, because they just have not shown the capacity to really come back in ball games and score a lot of points late in the game. In the fourth quarter this year, they've only scored 25 points in 9 ball games. They are not a good fourth quarter or comeback type football team. They've got to try to put some points on the board with this drive and keep this thing close going into that final period.
Silvestri will kick for Pittsburgh. This one is very short to the near side. And TK Dorsey actually signaled for a fair catch at the 23-yard line. So that, for Pittsburgh, pays off in spades. Instead of having the ball run out to the 40 as it has been most of the game, Rutgers starts from 23. There's that very impressive drive for Pittsburgh. They had 85 yards to end the first half with a touchdown, 77 to start the second with a field goal. And now Rutgers will start from the 23. Silvestri getting a little acknowledgement of a very good kickoff. TK Dorsey and Craig Mitter, the backs behind Tom Tarver. Mitter wrapped up after he gains a couple to the 25. Sean Gilbert on the play.
The difference in this ball game right now is that these teams have played a very similar game, same kind of intensity, same kind of effort, but what the difference is that Pitt has come up with some big plays on offense when they've needed them, and Rutgers is not. And really for the last couple of weeks when we watched this Rutgers football team, they've done some good things, but they haven't been able to come up with those big plays, the throw downfield, the long run, you know, something that would really take some pressure off having to make an 80 or a 75-yard drive down the football field.
Tim Christ, offensive lineman, is the injured Rutgers player. There's no question that you've got Pittsburgh that can throw it efficiently, and Rutgers is not able to. And that's Rutgers' big plays in the first half were runs from Mitter. Well, we have a timeout, 9:36 to go in the third, and we'll return to Pitt Stadium after these words from our local stations.
The golden years, the years of new adventure, the best years of your life are yet to be lived. And one bank has invested in a new computer system that helps make it happen, shows you all the financial options, and prepares you for the excitement that lies ahead. It's a bank you should call today. Pittsburgh National, a PNC bank.
A brand new radio station is playing the 70s. A brand new station is playing a variety of the 80s. A brand new station is playing the 90s.
If I could turn back
A new station called Variety 96 is playing the best variety of music in Pittsburgh. Try Variety 96 for more music, more variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Variety 96. More music, more variety.
With Todd Blackledge, Ted Robinson at Pitt Stadium, 20-10, Pittsburgh leading on our Big East game of the week. And Rutgers with the football 2nd and 9 coming up from their own 25. Craig Benke, 27, is in the backfield for the first time for Rutgers. Senior from Lakewood, New Jersey. He's back there with Craig Benner. And Tarver with a good play fake. Throws to Garantano, and Jim Garantano catches it and steps out at the 43 and a first down. Garantano last week set a new single-season Rutgers reception record. When he got to 51, he's adding a handful more today.
And he just made a great adjustment on that throw right there. He was running a route that, against two deep coverage, was going to convert. You'll see him down the bottom of the screen. Tinker Harris came up and forced. Now watch, he just sits right in the soft area behind the corner and the safety. An intelligent move by Garantano. Rather than run all the way into the safety, he got right past the corner and sat in that soft area.
And on first down, Craig Mitter bottled up. Well, he saw a number in the first half. Rutgers was gaining good yardage on first down plays, but those were a couple of bigger plays they had earlier in the game. And I think as the game has worn along, Pittsburgh's done a much better job stopping Rutgers' first down plays.
One thing that will really continue to benefit them is if they continue to go play action, nice play action fake by Tarver on first down and other running situations. Garantano's getting open against his own defense. A couple times Tarver's had the ball deflected, but that shouldn't discourage him from that kind of a play because they have men open.
Injured lineman Tim Christ out for a couple of plays back in for Rutgers, and Gilbert sacks Tarver. Sean Gilbert, first quarterback sack of the day.
Travis Broadbent, the center, gets up slow that time. That time Gilbert just blew right by Chris, playing in there at right guard. He was out for a play, he came back in, and Gilbert, I think, kind of took advantage of him on that one. Said he maybe wobbled a little bit, he may be a little bit hurt. Let me get off the ball and come after the quarterback on this play. Gilbert has really had to kind of rise to the occasion as well because he was out earlier in the year and Hamilton kind of carried the load on that defensive line. Now it's on the shoulders of Sean Gilbert.
Third and 13. Flag down, Tarver down, pass incomplete. And that flag comes flying in and looks awfully suspicious of a holding flag.
Holding, offense.
And so Pittsburgh will decline the penalty and Rutgers will face fourth down in a punting situation.
Holding, offense, decline, fourth down.
I think they got Alan Mitchell, the right tackle, that time holding Sean Gilbert, who's really geared it up here the last couple plays. Former high school All-American out of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Been bothered by injuries for most of his career, but the last couple weeks he's played very well.
David Lippitz, this first game for Rutgers, punting for the third time. Oh, got that one off the side of his foot. They'll let it hit. It takes a decent bounce for Rutgers out inside the 20. I wonder, Todd, if Doug Graber is facing a situation where he may have to consider making that quarterback move. Pittsburgh leading by 10, 7:42 to play third quarter, and we'll continue from Pitt Stadium after these messages.
It was a dumb argument. It all started when she said she went to the GM dealership for an oil change. How long did it take, I asked. Less than 29 minutes, she said. Look, well, what, did they do anything else or just change the oil? She said they checked the fluids and everything. In less than 29 minutes, guaranteed. She said, no way, I said. Then she said, why don't you ever believe me? That's when I knew I was in trouble. Thanks.
Your GM dealer's serious about putting service back in the service department. So try Mr. Goodwrench Quick Lube Plus for a change.
Bob Nickel knows a little French cafe where the food is magnifique, but the bill isn't. Now, where do you suppose he'd rent a car? Budget. where he finds the most luxury Lincolns, over 3,500 locations worldwide, and very tasteful prices. The smart money is on Budget.
Budget, the official rental car company of the Big East, has special weekday rates on economy through luxury cars. The smart money is on Budget.
These two teams we mentioned in the first half took radically different approaches to preparing for this game. Rutgers is so banged up that even though Doug Graber wasn't happy with last Saturday's game, they didn't practice real hard this week in terms of contact, and in fact Thursday went without pads. And Pittsburgh took a much different approach, which we'll talk about after this play. First down to the 19, and Curtis Martin. And he is finally brought down. Jamil Jackson made the hit. Paul Hackett and his coaches were so unhappy with the way Pitt played, particularly the second half at Boston College, that Sunday night they had a full pad contact scrimmage, an oddity. And they even actually lost a player, Keith Hamilton, re-injured a knee during that scrimmage, which was held on grass with the players wearing turf shoes.
Well, it was a kind of a controversial move, but Paul Hackett, you know, he saw this team kind of fall apart and bottom out last year on the way to a 3-7-1 record, and he didn't want to see that happen again this year. And he just took the steps that he thought. It caused some stir among his players, but it seems to not be having a negative effect here this afternoon.
And Van Pelt with a bomb for Bill Davis. That is incomplete. And that will leave third and long. Curtis Bray, a senior linebacker, was so upset with the scheduled scrimmage that he walked off and was actually suspended from the team for a couple of days. And Keith Hamilton, as we mentioned, re-injured a knee and is not even dressed today.
Well, Hamilton is a great player, and he had been bothered by a knee, and then in the scrimmage, I think what really upset people was that Hamilton actually injured his good knee in the scrimmage, and so he's out again this week. Bray has had injuries all through the season. He's worked out his differences with Paul Hackett. He's going to be back for the Penn State game for their final game. But again, it was a step that he took as a coach, and he aired some problems out with the players, but they seem to be responding positively today.
And that catch will be well short of a first down. Eric Seaman with the catch for Pittsburgh. So Van Pelt with a great number, 4 out of 6 on third and long plays before that one gets stopped there. Nobody to throw to, and Pittsburgh will be forced to punt. But there's no question, Tom, we've seen Pittsburgh's team, for whatever reason, they have responded today, because they really played a very poor second half last week.
They certainly did, and this is a much different football team.
Well, a high snap, and Theodoro fielded it, but he gets a very poor punt away, and Rutgers is going to have great field position at the 38-yard line of Pittsburgh. So there's a big break. A high center snap, and Theodoro had to leap to corral it and got off a punt of just 16 yards.
Well, Theodoro did his job there, just getting the ball away. You know, we saw last week a snap that went over his head and resulted in a safety for Boston College. Jim Royal a little bit high on that snap, but Theodoro, nice job fielding the ball. You know, they worked on that a lot in practice yesterday. You know, kickers do a lot of strange things anyway because they're not involved in most of practice. So they stand off on the side and they have a bad snap drill where they have one guy throw to the other one, just all kinds of horrible snaps possibilities. Theodoro, nice job handling that one.
Harvard to Garantano, and that's near the 30. Now, Doug Graber and Stan Parrish, offensive coordinator, both saying that we would see both quarterbacks for Rutgers today. We have not seen Derek McCord as of yet. What's your feelings on that to this point?
I think Tarver has played well enough to stay in the ball game, but they've got to capitalize on the field position here. The only reason that Doug might go to McCord is just in the back of his mind. He knows, hey, McCord came in and played against Pitt last year and had a hot hand. He got a hot hand, and in a span of 7 minutes, he threw 3 touchdown passes. We may need that kind of a comeback today.
And there's a heads-up play by Chris Stoll, the tight end, to cover the loose football after Ricardo McDonald sacked Tarver and caused a fumble.
We said this guy was going to have to come up with some big plays, and this is a big one right here. He's working against a tight end, Chris Stoll, and he just took a bad pass set. McDonald has good speed to the outside, and Stoll just set too far inside, and McDonald used his speed to beat him to the corner. Nice heads-up recovery, though, by Stoll to come up with that football. Gets beat for the sack, but he saves the drive.
After a good first down gain, now they're backed up to the 42, and it's 3rd down and 15. And Tarver throws one, and Garantano cannot pick that one up off the turf. It's incomplete. And there's Derek McCord, 16. He is the backup, a senior left-handed thrower.
He has a very strong arm, and he's a big kid. You know, he's 6'3", 220 pounds. The problem has been is he's not been a good practice player. That's what Doug Graber told us. I mean, they basically opened the position up this week because of the injuries and the struggle that Tarver's had, but he was not able to have a good week of practice consistently and take the job away.
Their catch called for here, and Israel takes it at the 11-yard line. Well, that is a very, very big series of downs for Pittsburgh. Rutgers starting at the 38 of Pittsburgh and forced to punt, and that series of plays gets McCord up and throwing on the sideline. Out of the bullpen, he's been okay. Now with 4:39 to go in the third, Pitt will take over at the 12-yard line. Well, Boston College, Tom Coughlin has really turned it around, and Frank Beamer's Hokies with a big halftime lead. That would put them at 5-4. It's all kinds of ifs. It's one of the most, as Curtis Martin carries, one of the most intriguing parts of college football are the what ifs. Pittsburgh certainly can play it with 2 late second losses, but Boston College looks back to the West Virginia game that they really feel they should have won. Maybe having a winning season right now.
I think, and with Boston College and Virginia Tech, those two particularly stick out to me. You look at their early season schedule and the hole that they got themselves in right away, and just for them to turn their season around just shows a great deal of character with both of those clubs and the coaching staff.
They're trying to run the ball and run some time as Martin carries to the 19. Elnardo Webster on the tackle for Rutgers. And that will leave Pittsburgh with 3rd down and 3. Pittsburgh has 2.5 weeks off following today's game until their season finale. Wow, South Carolina hanging in there in Tallahassee. Of course, Florida State has Miami next week. Pittsburgh will play Penn State here on Thanksgiving Day in their last game of the season. Wow, there's a catch, and that's a 1st down to Boyer, and he has Tim Geckler draped all over him, and Boyer still came up with the grab.
Boyer has had a fine ball game today. He's beating man-to-man coverage. Again, 8-man front, Bear defense, man-to-man coverage. Van Pelt just sits there and waits for Boyer to cross the field. Glenn Nave, number 69, actually had a chance to knock that ball down, but just got his hand up a little too late. Boyer was able to come up with the 1st down catch.
That is the 3rd straight week in which Chris Boyer has caught 6 passes. And Van Pelt airing up and again for Dietrich Gels, and that one is just broken up, and it was Tim Geckler. Back in coverage, made a nice play to stop that one. And Geckler says, I need a breath here. Get somebody else out here.
Geckler showed some speed there because Dietrich Gels is a great speedster running that takeoff pattern. He was a state champion in the 100-meter and 200-meter in Pennsylvania last year out of Erie Tech Memorial High School up in Erie, Pennsylvania. Geckler was in step for step with him the whole way on that particular play.
Van Pelt now with 2nd and 10, giving it to Martin. And there's a good burst, and Curtis Martin runs for a 1st down across the 35. Flag down on the play, and it'll wipe the play out. Penalty on Pittsburgh.
Pitt just runs this slant play. It's just a very simple play. Nice job blocking by Dave Moore, number 83, the tight end, riding out Elnardo Webster. And what they do on that play, they just kind of stretch the play out and tell the back, when you see a hole, then cut it up in. Look for the crease, and then make your move north.
Holding, offense, still 2nd down.
So the run wiped out, ball backed up to the 18-yard line. And Pittsburgh will have 2nd down and 17. 2:40 and running, 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh leading 20-10. Only scoring of the 3rd quarter, a 20-yard field goal by Scott Kaplan. And again, Van Pelt with all kinds of time, and that one's broken up nicely. That was Doug Atkins who got a hand on the ball intended for Chad Askew. Well, Van Pelt went almost to his per-game average in the first half. And he is second to Gino Torretta. Torretta now the top-ranked passer in the Big East Conference. And today, Van Pelt really having a big comeback from a tough game in BC last week. Rutgers' problems continue now. It is Doug Atkins who broke that pass play up, came back, and he looked like he was holding his left arm and left shoulder a little limp at his side, and Atkins is shaken up.
And that would be a difficult loss for Doug Graber. Doug Atkins is the backup strong safety, but he's involved in a lot of their defensive schemes, particularly in their nickel and dime defense. He's a very active player, a hard hitter, and he's made a lot of big plays for this defense.
Doug Atkins originally went to Colorado, transferred to Rutgers from there. And teams with Malik Jackson to give him a pretty good pair of safeties.
You know, I mentioned in the first half that Bill Myers didn't want to see a game where Van Pelt was going to have to throw for 300 yards. However, it looks like he's going to do that, but he has played just a spectacular game here this afternoon. Very few bad decisions. He's throwing the ball on the money, and I think Bill Myers would take it, a win under these circumstances, no matter what.
3rd and 17 for Pitt. Rutgers dropping, they rush 4, and Van Pelt throws it up deep for Gels, and it's intercepted. Jay Bellamy with the interception, and Rutgers gets yet another chance as they have the ball in Pittsburgh territory on the pick by Jay Bellamy.
Tackle was made by Chris Boyer. 1st and 10. Rutgers.
Well, I just said that Van Pelt has not made many bad decisions, but this may have been his first one of the game. He just kind of hung this one up, and Bellamy's playing middle safety. Dietrich Gels could have helped his quarterback out by staying wide away from the middle of the field, but Van Pelt probably should not have thrown that ball, because when you have a middle safety, the longer that ball hangs up in the air, the more time he has to react and make the play.
Derek McCord taking over as the Rutgers quarterback. He's a left-hander, and he hands off on the first play. And Craig Mitter gets very little. The only salvation on that pass play was it was 3rd and 17, and Pittsburgh would have been facing a punt situation regardless. The interception not creating that much of a difference in field position from where the punt would have been in all likelihood.
That's spoken as a fan, though, and not as a quarterback. When you're a quarterback and you've only thrown 8 interceptions on the year and you take a lot of pride in that, you don't like to just throw one away like that.
Or as a coach would look at it the same way. Field position didn't cost Pittsburgh that badly. McCord throwing there, and is that intercepted? Let's see. Israel diving for it with Garantano, and it's ruled incomplete. Or it's Lance Avina who was the receiver. Israel there, and it's ruled incomplete.
Excellent coverage this time on the route. Steven Israel on Garantano, or Lance Avina, and Avina didn't come back to the football. Again, now, McCord is a new quarterback in the ball game. He was a little bit late making that throw, which is understandable. He's just in the game. That's his first throw. Avina, though, has to help his quarterback out in that situation. When he makes the cut, if the ball isn't there right now, he's got to keep working back. Forget the yardage at that point. Work back and keep the defender cut off from the football.
Here now is McCord, and Rutgers facing 3rd and 10. Over the middle, that's complete, and Garantano trying to string it wide to get a first down, did not. It was Doug Whaley who made the tackle at the 40, and they're 2 yards shy. 6th catch by Garantano today.
They just brought Garantano on a little cross over the middle. Now, he could have deepened his route a little bit as he was going, but then right there, he has to try to split those 2 defenders and get the first down. He doesn't have the speed to get outside on them, and he knows that. He knows his capabilities. You catch that ball, you turn straight upfield and split the defenders, dive if you have to get the first down.
Rutgers going to have to hurry to get this play off, and it's 4th down and 2. 4th and 2 Rutgers. They get it off in time. McCord in trouble. Throws it out, and it is batted away incomplete. Lex Perkins, the intended receiver, Rutgers side, screaming for interference. There are no flags, and a 4th down incompletion will give the ball back to Pitt.
Derek McCord is just in the ball game for his first series. He probably should have called a timeout here. They were down to 1 second on the 25-second clock. They kind of rushed this play, and you don't want to rush a 4th and 2 play. You can see there was some contact downfield on the tight end, Dietrich. The referees must have thought it was an uncatchable pass and didn't call the interference. But the point of that play was it's 4th down and 2. You need to make this first down. You're down 10 points, and you're down on the time clock. Go ahead and call timeout. You've got 3.5. Go ahead and call one there. Make sure you got the play run correctly.
And the Rutgers defense stands right back up there and stops Martin on 1st down with Sean Williams. It's a real positive sign for Rutgers is how well this defense plays in the midst of games when they can see that their offense is struggling. If the defense stays and is keeping their team in ball games.
It's a defensive football team that plays with a great deal of pride, and they've done this all season. And we saw them against Syracuse a couple weeks ago, a game that their offense just, really couldn't do anything. Was very ineffective, and that defense played tough for the whole 4 quarters.
And we're heading to the 4th quarter here. Rutgers has had 2 very good chances in the 3rd quarter and been unable to capitalize. So Pittsburgh has a 10-point lead now, 20-10. As we go to the 4th quarter, we'll have it for you after these words from our local stations.
Presenting USDA Choice Certified Hoss Beef. Tender, juicy, mouth-watering. When you're really hungry,
Beef it.
at Hoss's Steak and Sea.
More coffee. Thanks, Joe. Business kind of slow?
I hate being alone.
And no one calls on the phone.
May I recommend...
Go ahead, you're our friend.
Got an ad in that book?
Well, you think folks would look?
9 out of 10 use it, you know.
So people would show.
And our business would grow.
Let's give it a try.
Great key lime pie.
An ad in this book.
Just don't fire the cook. The genuine Bella, Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. 9 out of 10 use it.
Reservation?
No other book can match it. A Bell Atlantic Company.
As we go to the 4th quarter, I don't know if Rutgers can expect to get better chances than they had their last 2 possessions. They took over at the Pittsburgh 38 and the Pittsburgh 48 and were unable to score on either one. In fact, no first downs.
I think you're exactly right. They have been having the advantage in the field position struggle, and that's the thing that they needed to do in this ball game to give their offense a chance. But it just seems like they just come up with the bad plays at the wrong time. They get in that field position, they don't gain any yards on 1st down. The other series, they get a good 1st down play, then they take the sack on 2nd down, and they're continually looking at 3rd down and long situations.
Van Pelt getting it away, has Gels out there. Dietrich Gels to the 33 of Rutgers with a 1st down.
Dietrich Gels is another one of these young receivers that is really starting to blossom. Coming into the game, he only had 5 catches, but he's averaging 34 yards per catch. This time it's a quick takeoff. Alex Van Pelt breaks off his drop and just gets the ball in the air. He saw that he had his man beat, and that was a smart decision by Van Pelt. You see the man has him beat, just stop your drop. If you're going on a 7-step drop, go ahead and break it off at 5 and get the ball in the air.
That play good for 27, and Pittsburgh is at the 33 of Rutgers. Curtis Martin. Good run, another 1st down. He has taken over in the 2nd half for Jermaine Williams. And the Pittsburgh offense rolling there now with these couple of plays. They're over 400 yards again. Really, you throw last week out for the Pittsburgh, and even last week they had a lot of yards, but in their losing game with East Carolina, they had 520 yards of offense. Van Pelt is over 300 yards today for the 7th time in his Pittsburgh career. And Van Pelt, if he has a good game against Penn State on Thanksgiving Day, could end this season with better than 8,000 passing yards for 3 years. That's remarkable. He's over 7,700 right now. Here's Glenn DeVoe running, and that's to the 10. And another first down.
A little bit of a change-up play that Pitt showed us right there. We haven't seen much of DeVoe today. That was kind of a quick hitter to the fullback. Most of their running plays are that stretched kind of a slant play where they go to the one back deep in the backfield, let him stretch the defense, and then cut up when he sees the seam. That time it was a real quick hitter off the left side to the fullback DeVoe. Nice blocking over there by Reuben Brown and Lawson Malika, the left guard.
So a first down and 10. Ball is at the 11-yard line. This is survival here for Rutgers. Flag down, Van Pelt down. Sean Williams got him back at the 25, and a holding flag as well against Pittsburgh, but Rutgers will take the play because they got Van Pelt down for a 13-yard loss.
Another sack for Sean Williams, who's just had a great year, particularly as a pass rusher. Coming into the game, he had 11 sacks, and that's the 6th best.
Offense, decline, second out.
Those 11 sacks are the 6th best ever of anybody on a Rutgers defense. The record for most sacks in the season is 19, held by Nate Turan. Right there, you see Williams just stays fighting off his block, comes in and trips up Van Pelt.
Now next year, when Rutgers will figure to have a great addition at quarterback, Brian Forte comes in, but they're going to have to replace Williams and Webster. Both outside linebackers are seniors, and that's going to be it. As Jermaine Williams gets dropped, Keith Bryant made the play. So there's a loss back to the 28. Well, Rutgers need for survival. They need to keep Pittsburgh out of the end zone here. And the Panthers are backed up now to the 28-yard line. They have to get inside the 1 for a first down.
Great defensive stand here by the Rutgers defense. I mean, they really had their backs against the wall, coming off of missing that 4th down attempt by their offense. They've pushed them all the way back, even out of field goal range at this point.
That's tipped and incomplete. And of course, what Pittsburgh was trying to do there, they're just trying to get some yards and give themselves a better shot at a field goal. Bryant deflects the pass, and now you're looking at a 45-yard field goal try.
The fans are booing a little bit, but the hat really has to be tipped to the Rutgers defense, because that was just a great series of plays that they just put together to stop any more points from being put on the scoreboard, give their offense a chance to stay close in this ballgame.
So this will be 45. Kaplan's career best is 47. That one's going to be well wide. At the leg, but he hooked it well wide, and so again, Rutgers, I tell you, they are walking the high wire in this game, but they're staying in the game. 12:18 to play, and it's still 20-10. Pittsburgh will be back after these messages.
We didn't look at it like everyone else. That was too confining. Instead, we opened up the Infiniti G20 with a luxurious cabin-forward design and the exhilaration of a 140 horsepower engine. It's designed to give you breathing room and take your breath away, all at the same time.
Rutgers is great. Just ask anybody. It's exciting. I love it here.
The campus is beautiful. I think it's outstanding.
The education you get here is exceptional.
The faculty is great.
A Rutgers degree is definitely going to mean a lot once I graduate.
I really like Rutgers. I'm having a great time here.
It's the best experience I've ever had.
Heat coming off there on that sideline. definitely not a Bud Grant coach team. Did you ever believe that Bud Grant, when he coached the Minnesota Vikings, and I guess in Winnipeg in the Canadian League, never used to allow heaters on sidelines?
The thing about those heaters is they feel good when you're standing there, but then when you go back out on the field or out of the distance of those heaters, it actually feels much colder than it was before, and I'm sure that was his thinking.
T.K. Dorsey running straight ahead. Tom Tumulty on the hit for Pittsburgh. Well, Derek McCord's second series for Rutgers. Next week will be at the Carrier Dome. And the Boston College Eagles, on their way to a 4th win today, will play Syracuse. Syracuse 7-2, and they are idle today. Syracuse with 2 home games remaining, BC and West Virginia. And they're hoping for a bid to a big-time bowl. And we'll be there next Saturday at 12 noon in our Big East game of the week. And that's Lance Avina, but he's wrapped up shy of the first down. Charles Williams was there, so was Sean Abinay. And Rutgers is going to have 3rd down and short yardage.
That's something they've not seen much today. They've normally been in 3rd and long situations, so that was a good completion by McCord. At least get them in position now where they have either the option of running or throwing here on this 3rd down conversion attempt.
Last year, McCord came in to the game here at Pitt Stadium. Rutgers was down 28-0. He threw 3 touchdown passes. Pittsburgh went on to win 45-21. Pitch to Mitter, and he's got the first down. Brought down by Tom Tumulty, and it's a first down for Rutgers. We had a chance to talk with Doug Graber today. We asked him if McCord came in the game, what would we see different from the Rutgers offense with McCord in there?
Well, you know, other than being left-handed, obviously, he's a big, tall, strong guy, and he's got a strong arm, and you know, he's probably likes to throw a little down the field a little bit more than Tom does.
And probably a little, although he's not terribly mobile, probably more mobile than Tom Tarver has been this year because of his bad knee. Tarver has played with him. Now McCord's going to get hit, brought down. Ricardo McDonald, who came into this game leading Pittsburgh in sacks with 8.5, is adding a couple of more to that total today.
I think Rico must have heard our open before the game, because we talked about the necessity for him to come up and make some big plays today. He was on the right side the last play. They keep flipping around. They lined up on the left side this time, and he just drew a bead on Derek McCord. McCord, when he gets more playing experience, he'll know, hey, I got to get rid of this football. I either got to throw it away or drop it off to a back, because I'm not going to be able to get away from a guy with the ability of a Rico McDonald.
And off inside, and tripped up is Antoine Moore. Short gain. Well, Ricardo McDonald made the statement yesterday that most coaches cringe at when they see. He was quoted in newspapers saying he felt Rutgers was an average team, and that it would be very, very upsetting to the Pittsburgh players if they were to lose to Rutgers. Fortunately, so far, they've been able to back that up on the field, but coaches don't like those statements from their players, do they?
No, they don't. And he likened a loss today against Rutgers to the loss they suffered to Temple here in their final home game last year.
And that will be shy of a first down. Garantano with the catch. They need to get to the 50, and he is going to be about 2 yards shy. But again, on 4th down, Doug Graber's, well, let's see. Thought this would be a situation where he'd have to go for it, but apparently not. There's still 9 minutes to play, but Rutgers is 2 scores down. Needing 2 yards here on 4th down. It'll be David Lippitz into punt. Steve Israel deep.
Pitt has played those 3rd and long situations very good. They've given the underneath throw to Garantano and then come up and made the tackle to keep him from picking up that extra yardage necessary for the first down. Catch
by Israel at the 16. And it looks like they're going to perhaps get Gary Melton on the fair catch interference. Well, we have 8 minutes and 41 seconds remaining at Pitt Stadium. Our score is Pittsburgh 20, Rutgers 10, and we'll be back after these words from our local stations.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. Valvoline has. You learn in the lab, you learn on the road, you learn on the racetrack.
As you learn, you make your product better. And better and better. Today's Valvoline will keep your engine cleaner than ever before. And cleaner means more protection against engine wear. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
We've shared courage. We've shared the long hours. We've shared the commitment it takes to reinvent yourself in a place that's being reinvented. That's why one bank has been providing the financial support our town needs to renew itself and reshape its future. That bank is Pittsburgh National, the PNC Bank.
Back at Pitt Stadium, where the cold weather today has held the crowd down, a very disappointing crowd, just about 20,000 at Pitt Stadium for the game. A few more than that here when Penn State comes in. Let's watch the fair catch here by Israel.
I called this penalty earlier in the ball game. That time they weren't nearly as close as they were the time when they didn't call the penalty, but they called the interference of making the fair catch.
And so Pittsburgh gets 5 extra yards, and they'll start from the 21-yard line with a first down, and I would think at a 10-point lead. Pittsburgh's goal here would be to try to string a couple of first downs together and chew up as much of that remaining time as they can. Rutgers bringing people on Van Pelt, and Sean Williams again got his hand on that ball. And he particularly, along with Webster, but Sean Williams has played very well on that Rutgers defensive front.
He certainly has, and both of those guys are tall guys. They got long arms, and they know how to time their jump. Watch this. Here he comes. DeVoe's going to block him. Now he has to try to cut him. The fullback's job on that play, he's got to cut his legs out from under him and not let him get his hands up in the throwing lane. That time DeVoe kind of just took a stab at him. Williams jumped to the left and eluded him and was still able to knock that pass down. Great athletic ability by both Williams and Webster.
Curtis Martin running, and off the left side he gains good yardage. Well, George Stewart brings him down. Marked at the 28. It will be 3rd down and 3 coming up for Pittsburgh. Now Craig Mitter's running has been the brightest spot offensively for Rutgers, but 2 key turnovers in the first half stopped them, and Alex Van Pelt has capitalized with a strong passing day. And Pittsburgh leads 20-10, now facing 3rd and 3 at their 28. Rutgers bringing everybody again, and it is batted down at the line. So Van Pelt is trying to hit Boyer. Crossing, just a little quick hit for the first down, but somebody in there got a big paw to Keith Bryant, 91 did.
You mentioned that they would probably want to run the ball and chew up the clock, and you think, why did they throw the ball there? Van Pelt knew Rutgers was selling out on that play. They brought all their coverage up man-to-man, and they brought 7 or 8 men around the line of scrimmage. He had to check to a quick pass, but that quick throw over the middle, there's just too many bodies and arms in there. He'd been better off staying outside, throwing a quick route to one of his wide receivers.
Oh, big rush, and it blocks the punt. Rutgers blocks the punt, and they'll have it at the Pittsburgh 20. Craig Benke got the punt right up the middle. And Rutgers somehow staying in this game, and now they have another great chance as they'll take over at the Pittsburgh 20-yard line.
Big play by the special teams. Backup fullback Craig Benke, number 27, comes in and is going to get this block. It's a good snap by Royal. Theodoro's a little bit slow getting the ball off, but it's just a straight up the middle rush by Benke. Perfect job getting in there, closing his hands over the football. And a big play for the Rutgers team. Now they've got the field position. They've got to get the ball in the end zone here.
And Tom Tarver's back at the quarterback spot, handing it off to Craig Mitter. Goes into the middle and is wrapped up by Charles Williams. Now Rutgers, they want to put this in the end zone. If, though, they have to settle, they need a score. They need a score here to stay in the football game. Doug Graber knows it. He has been able to watch his offense today. He's been able to move the football, particularly in the first half. They have struggled in the second half, but a great chance here created by special teams play. And Tarver's in trouble and down. Sean Abney started. McDonald helped. And the ball back to the 23 will leave 3rd and 13.
Rutgers has just had a lot of problems protecting the passer this year, and so they've tried to do different things like roll out and try to throw the ball quick, but it's good coverage downfield. Nobody open for Tarver, and Abney pursues him then when the receiver doesn't open up. But that play was designed to get rid of the ball quick. Good coverage downfield.
3rd and 13, flag down, so is Tarver. But McDonald again with the pressure, and he's playing a fine game for Pittsburgh. And let's see what the penalty is. Rutgers needs this to be against Pitt. Oh, that's huge. Because Rutgers would pretty much be out of field goal range back at the spot of the sack. They'll get the play back, and they'll have 3rd and 8, a little better chance of getting a first down.
Both sides, defense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And Tarver injured coming off, and Derek McCord will come out now to take this snap again on 3rd down. 3rd and 8 from the Pittsburgh 18.
How'd you like to be him right now? You get pulled out, you were in the game, then you get pulled out when you get the ball on the 20-yard line. Now they put you back in on a crucial 3rd down situation.
Twan Moore, the only back, 3 wide receivers. And McCord is sacked, so the pressure of Pittsburgh is just taking over. Sean Gilbert with the sack. And Rutgers going to have to kick a field goal here. They have 11.5 yards they need for a first down.
Sean Gilbert has been involved in a lot of big plays today. You know, his career has been a real interesting story. He came out of Aliquippa High School, was a highly recruited, the most highly recruited guy ever out of Western Pennsylvania. He was academically ineligible his first year. He's had injuries the last 2 years, and really in the 3 years here, in 15 games, he's only made 9 starts because of those injuries.
There's a fake. Garantano throwing it. Man is open. And it's a touchdown for Rutgers. A fake field goal to Tim Hametti. Reserve tight end Tim Hametti catching a pass for Jim Garantano, and a fake field goal gets 6 for Rutgers.
They tried a fake field goal earlier in the season in the game against Penn State, and the 25-second clock ran out, and it was wiped out. They had a touchdown in that ball game. This time they get it off, and Garantano also does the holding. Nice throw there. He was a quarterback in high school at Lodi High School. He was a very good quarterback. Showed a nice touch, rolling out and making that throw.
And the extra point by Benestad, so Rutgers, when it appeared that they were again facing another discouraging drive, they hit with the big play. A fake field goal touchdown pass, and with 5:21 to play, it is now 20-17. Pitt, we're back after these messages.
It took time and hard work. No one had ever done it before. The technology that combined front-wheel drive and multi-link suspension simply didn't exist. 5 years later, there is the Infiniti G20 midsize luxury sedan, and the chance to discover what's already been called one of the best handling cars in the world is right around the corner.
At the heart of a great university are moments of discovery. Those that alter history and those that alter oneself. The University of Pittsburgh, a place to discover.
Well, a little trickery. Bobby Bowden would have been proud of that play, wouldn't he, Todd?
He certainly would have, and I know Doug Graber, you saw him pumping his arm over there on the sideline after the play. Very well executed. Pitt was thinking field goal all the way because they needed points on the board. Garantano takes the snap and immediately is out of the stance and is rolling, and you can see Pernetti, the backup, or third or fourth team tight end is down there right in the soft spot of that defense. They caught the Pitt defense totally by surprise right there.
I'll tell you, that was, from Doug Graber's standpoint, that was the ball game on that gamble. If they don't make that play and come away with no points, basically the game's over.
A very gutsy call by Graber.
But instead now it's a 3-point game, and John Benestead sidewinds one down the field. It's fielded by one of the up men for Pittsburgh. And a good run back out across the 30-yard line by Vernon Lewis. And now Pittsburgh has to be thinking not just running out the clock, but now they're going to think move the football. They've got to keep it away from Rutgers, who needs only 3 to tie.
The way that thing started out, it looked like it was a perfect kickoff because Lewis had to field that ball. First you kick it away from Israel, then Lewis had to field that ball with his momentum going towards the goal line, stop, turn his direction, and he still was able to bring it out past the 30-yard line. Nice job of running the football by Vernon Lewis.
Curtis Martin is set back behind Van Pelt. Pittsburgh starting from their 31. And Martin off the left side to the 35. Todd Lane in there for Rutgers. You got to praise the Rutgers defense a lot. Banged up, thin up the defensive line, but they have stood in there as best they can today.
That time, Rutgers shifted from the Bear defense into a normal defense. Van Pelt didn't make the audible. He had a run play called. When they switched out of that Bear defense, he didn't have to change the play.
2nd and 7. It's Martin again. And Rutgers stops him. He gains about 3. So 3rd down, and 3+ will be facing Pittsburgh. We're underneath 4.5 minutes remaining.
Williams made the tackle.
20-17, Pitt the lead. Running yards have not been easy to come by for Pitt against the Rutgers defense. And big thing, the missed field goal by Pittsburgh on that drive when they're deep in Rutgers territory. Hurts. 3rd and 3, and Van Pelt to throw it. Out to the tight end, and that's a 1st down as Dave Moore carries it all the way to the Rutgers 45. Marshall Roberts finally brings down tight end Dave Moore, and that's a Pittsburgh 1st down.
Very well designed play, a little naked bootleg. They brought Moore in motion. He faked the block, and then he released out in the pattern. You see Malik Jackson, 43, trailing on the play. Initially, Moore looked like he was going to block Jackson, and then he made a little contact and then drifted out into the flat area to catch the pass. Nice little deceiving move by the senior tight end.
Now 3:40 to go, and Pitt is inside the Rutgers 45. And off to Martin. Another 1st down to the 31. Oh, again, Rutgers shifting. They're bringing a lot of people up to the line. And Pittsburgh that time beat it with a run.
They really sold out coming to the inside on that play. Elnardo Webster, number 93, really crashed hard to the inside and gave up the corner. And Martin has very good speed. Once he got out there, good block by the left tackle, Reuben Brown, to secure that corner for him.
Curtis Martin has carried the ball 20 times. And here's 21. Trying to get outside. Trying to get out, and he's out of bounds inside the 20. And that's another 1st down run. And so suddenly Pittsburgh is down inside the 20 with 3:19 to play, leading by 3.
This guy is certainly warmed up here in the 2nd half. He was a little bit rusty coming into the ball game, a little bit tentative in his running style, but not anymore. He's really turned it on. He just is breaking tackles, using that stiff arm to elude defenders. He's very shifty. He's got good hip movement. That allows him to keep bouncing it to the outside. Picks up good yardage.
88 yards for Curtis Martin, and he didn't play much till the 2nd quarter. Goes again. Look at the good drive, and Martin is inside the 15. Pittsburgh has had 20 1st downs in the game. And this drive's important with the time remaining after Rutgers scored to cut the lead to 3. Pittsburgh is doing here is they're running time down. They're keeping the Rutgers defense on the field.
Bill Myers told me yesterday he was really happy to have Curtis Martin back healthy. You know, he hurt his toe in the first quarter, the first series actually, the Notre Dame game, and he's been out since then. They felt that having him back would just be a great boost for him from a speed standpoint. He really represents the speed back in that offense. Jermaine Williams is more of a big back, more of a powerful runner. Martin possesses the breakaway speed that they have been missing for the last couple weeks.
And a good return, 93 yards for Martin. George Stewart, I think this may well be a very strategic pause by George Stewart at a time when the Rutgers defense was moving back, reeling and needing a little breather. They get it here on an injury timeout.
Not only moving back but reeling, but the clock moving forward, so it served a couple purposes here.
2:38 remaining. Well, here we get down to the red zone again. Todd, you talked about this a lot today, and here's the game now riding on the red zone. If Pittsburgh can put it in the end zone, and there basically the game will be over. Rutgers needs to hold them to at worst 3 and hope they get the ball back. The winner of this game will wrap up a winning season. Rutgers will be home on their campus at New Brunswick next week to play Temple in their season finale. Its season finale on Thanksgiving Day against Penn State here. Stewart having to be removed because of the injury timeout. And he got Rutgers defense a little breather, and now Pitt back to the line. 2nd and 5 at the Rutgers 14. Inside handoff, DeVoe, and he is going to be just shy of a first down. Just inside the 10. About a half yard shy, it'll be 3rd down. So here's the play for the Rutgers defense. And for the Pittsburgh offense. And Pelt over to the quick chat with Paul Hackett. Back now to the huddle. Clock is running at 1:45. And Van Pelt, 3rd down and a half yard. Martin behind him. Ooh, I don't know. Well, he might have gotten enough. He had to crack the 9-yard line, and it looks like they're going to mark him closer to the 8. And if he gets a first down on that carry, and it is first down for Pittsburgh, and that puts Rutgers in deep trouble now because Pitt has just 90 seconds on the game clock, and they've got 3 more plays to run from scrimmage. Now Rutgers takes a timeout and utilize their first timeout. They have 2 left. And we'll break here. 90 seconds remaining in Pitt Stadium. Pitt leading 20-17. We're back after these messages.
We didn't look at it like everyone else. That was too confining. Instead, we opened up the Infiniti G20 with a luxurious cabin-forward design and the exhilaration of a 140 horsepower engine. It's designed to give you breathing room and take your breath away, all at the same time.
People ask me frequently, what is the NCAA? NCAA members make rules to protect the interests of student athletes and the integrity of competition. NCAA members set standards for academic and athletic excellence. The NCAA is presidents, faculty members, athletic directors, commissioners, and coaches. We are the NCAA.
All right, we're back at Pitt Stadium, and Pittsburgh leading 20-17. A minute and a half remaining. And kind of a new look on this one right now for Pittsburgh as they get a big first down. It puts Doug Graber in a tough spot. And 2 timeouts left. Pittsburgh can snap the ball 4 more times. Rutgers defense has played extremely well, but Pittsburgh Pittsburgh has been able to put together a couple of key drives. 85 yards to end the first half, 77 yards to start the second half, and now this big drive after Rutgers had cut it to 3.
On that 3rd and 1 play, they went over their seasoned vet, center Chris Sestilli, 3-year starter, followed him for the first down.
DeVoe inside. Not much, and Rutgers will stop it again at 1:25. Well, today our Infinity Player of the game, and also our comeback player of the week in the Big East. Alex Van Pelt did not play well last week at BC. Today he has excelled.
Threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and made a lot of good decisions, a lot of good checkoffs at the line of scrimmage. Rutgers was doing a lot of different shifting and stemming on the line of scrimmage into that 8-man Bear defense. He did a nice job getting them in the right kind of plays for that defense. And that's one thing that an offensive coordinator really likes in a smart quarterback, is that, you know, there's no sense calling a play that doesn't have a chance from the beginning. If you've got a quarterback who can operate as a coach on the field and make the necessary checks and audibles, then you've got a great advantage. And Pitt's Paul Hackett really has that with Alex Van Pelt.
So it's 1:25 remaining in the game. And Rutgers now down to 1 timeout remaining. 20-17 the lead for Pitt. The ball is just shy of the 7-yard line, where it's 2nd and goal. Glenn DeVoe behind Van Pelt. Lance Markle also in the backfield. And DeVoe really running hard before he's dragged down. Strong running by DeVoe, but Doug Atkins just wouldn't let go of him. He's down at the 5, and Rutgers stops the clock for the last time in 1:15 seconds.
Rutgers timeout.
Glenn DeVoe's a guy that they were really happy to get back this week as well. He missed a couple weeks with a sprained ankle, and he's a real valuable guy to this offense for Pitt, because he's the guy who has had the experience. He played in the games last year. He knows all the pass protections. They do a lot of different things. A very sophisticated offense, and DeVoe is one of the key guys. They've missed him the last couple weeks.
Well, the ball's at the 6-yard line now, and if Rutgers can keep Pittsburgh out of the end zone on this 3rd down play, they will still be alive. They would figure Pittsburgh to kick a field goal, and Rutgers then to at least get the ball back with some time remaining. It won't be much, but they'd have some remaining. His defensive coordinator Rich Rachel there alongside Doug Graber, encouraging on his team with one more scrimmage play. (20-17) Pittsburgh.
I think as far as the fact that we mentioned the key for both teams being intensity is the #1 key, they have both played with a lot of spirit and a lot of emotion today. There's been a lot of fight on both teams in this game, and they both have really played well enough to win the football game, but Pitt was able to come up with more plays at the right times.
And sustained drives. The longest drive for Rutgers offense today has been 49 yards. Pitt has had 3 long ones, 85, 77, 62, and actually this drive is going to be close to 60. They just hammered DeVoe away, and he runs into a wall at the 5-yard line. So Rutgers defense did a very good job stopping Pitt on straight-ahead running plays. Now, though, the ball is being put down. The clock is yet to be reset. 25-second clock still has not started yet. Now it has. And Pitt can run the clock down now to, well, they can run the clock down to about 30 seconds. And they may just go ahead and run a scrimmage play here. That's what they're going to do.
You know, another thing, the Pitt defense has been much maligned in the last couple of weeks, giving up a lot of yardage, but really today they made some key plays. When Rutgers got the ball in good field position, they were able to come up with a lot of key plays.
And on 4th down, Pitt running a scrimmage play and a naked boot by Van Pelt. He's brought down. But Pittsburgh's now going to gamble on its defense. They have only the 3-point lead, but they'll say to Rutgers, okay, you're going to have to go about 60 yards to try and kick a field goal, and you only have 28 seconds, no timeouts.
Rutgers has had good field position a lot this afternoon, but the Pitt defense has continued to come up with big plays. A couple turnovers, a couple sacks at key times, really has taken away a lot of scoring threats that Rutgers had throughout the ballgame.
Well, just shy of 500 yards of Pittsburgh offense, and here's Rutgers. Well, remember BC hit the Hail Mary pass a couple of weeks ago against West Virginia. Rutgers needs some help like that. Here's McCord to Melton. Through his hands, incomplete. And Steve Israel covering. Down now to 23 seconds on our Big East game of the week this week. Next week in Syracuse, the Orangemen host the Boston College Eagles, who have won today to go to 4-5. And BC looking at having to play 2 nationally ranked teams in their last 2 games. It's nothing new for them since they played the other half of the top 20 the first part of the year. Syracuse and Miami in their last 2 games. Same play, and it's broken up again. And Melton took a real pop there for his efforts. Chris Hupko. 18 seconds now, and a 3rd down for Rutgers. The Rutgers offense improved in the first half, but still in the second half today's cause for disappointment because they had some great field position.
The biggest problem area for the Rutgers offense right now is their pass protection. They've tried to reshuffle and retool that offensive line, but they still have not found the right combination.
They're going to run a Hail Mary here if they get it off, but they can't. And McCord is sacked for the safety. And the Pittsburgh pass rush taking over again, sacking McCord for a safety that will take care of the game with 11 seconds to go. Gives Pittsburgh a 5-point lead. And I'm not sure who will be credited with that. McDonald was in there. Jeff Esters as well.
Ricardo McDonald has certainly risen to the challenge today, and really that's a disadvantage for any offensive lineman trying to block him now, because he knows all he's got to do is pin his ears back and come. Here's Esters coming up the middle on a good move, and there's McDonald chasing from the outside. Really, Esters is the one who should get major credit for that because he flushed McCord out of the pocket.
And senior Ricardo McDonald has had a fine day. Well, we asked at halftime, thought we were talking about, hey, is Rutgers going to try to rush Van Pelt more and try to get him out of his rhythm? And it's been Pittsburgh that has put more pressure on the Rutgers quarterbacks in the second half.
They certainly have. Sean Gilbert was able to get in and get a couple sacks, pick up the slack for the absence of Keith Hamilton. Ricardo McDonald, excellent ball game all afternoon.
Well, we're now in the unusual position of having an onside kick attempt on a free kick. This is the 20-yard line free kick that follows a safety, but Rutgers will have to attempt an onside kick in all likelihood here. 11 seconds remaining. John Beniston putting the ball down on the tee. Pittsburgh breaking all their people up, although I'm surprised they don't have more. Rutgers shifting left now, and the officials stop play.
Pitt just called a timeout. I think they wanted to make sure, once they saw how they were going to kick the onside kick, which side and which people they're going to bring over. Now Pitt will call timeout. Now they'll send their hands team onto the field to secure the recovery on the onside kick. Very smart move by the Pitt coaching staff.
I would have thought they would have had the hands team out there anyway. It's the only chance Rutgers has to
I think you're right. I think it was kind of a surprising situation simply because you don't see many onside kicks off of a safety free kick situation. But at this point in the ball game, that really is the only choice that Rutgers has.
So upcoming for Pittsburgh, a chance to rest and to heal some wounds, and then gear up for their always intense and emotional game with Penn State, which will be played here on Thanksgiving Day. Great rivalry that may well be coming to an end because of the conference affiliations now of both the schools.
It certainly was a great rivalry, and I was privileged to have been a part of a couple
People like you here.
of
I can't believe that, considering your
Well, I
your
also
past.
played for the Steelers for a couple of years. I think that had more to do with it.
Barry Benestead putting it on the tee again. Pittsburgh has 9 men up within 10 yards of the 30. where the ball must cross the 30-yard line to be a free ball. 1-2, and the Milk didn't take the big hop, and Pittsburgh covered it. Usually that kick on the turf, you like to see the ball on that second hop will take a big hop up in the air, but it never did there. Eric Seaman covered it first, and Pittsburgh will have it, and will need to snap the ball once here to end the game.
And no better guy to secure the game for Pitt than Eric Seaman. He's been one of the key leaders on this team, a consistent performer over his 4 years here at Pittsburgh, and in the midst of this losing streak has really been the one guy that both coordinators singled out as the guy who really rose up and had some good things to say as far as being a leader and rallying the young guys together, saying, let's hang in there and finish this season strong. A real credit to him.
Oh, Van Pelt with one snap, and that will do it. Well, two teams both in desperate need of a victory. The home team gets it in Pittsburgh, and they clinch a winning season. Coming off a year in which they won only 3, they have now won 6. And despite a great effort, the frustration will continue for Doug Graber and Rutgers. Although he still has a chance to go home next week, and if his Scarlet Knights can beat Temple, they would clinch a winning year, and that would be coming off the season in which Rutgers won only 3. But Pitt is now 6-4 with a 22-17 victory over Rutgers here at Pitt Stadium today. Next week we'll be at the Carrier Dome for Boston College and Syracuse. Now some of our stations will be leaving us now. Others will stay for our always insightful and thorough post-game show, which comes up after these words from our local stations.
It's every shopper's nightmare. You buy something, then see it everywhere for less. If only you had bought it with a Citibank Visa card. Then if you saw it in a printed ad for less, Citibank Visa would refund you the difference up to $250. So even if you pay more, you can still get it for less. Don't let this happen to you. Call 1-800-927-CITI to apply for the only card that gives you Citibank price protection.
Sunrise at the stables above the meadows, and a happy day for Christy Cooper, a little girl from Washington County who loves horses, especially trotting horses.
Go ahead, whistle to them so we can go fast.
Christy is a paraplegic, the result of an automobile accident caused by a drunk driver. Before you have one for the road, remember Christy Cooper.
You can't ask your family about everything. And you can't really ask your friends because they don't know much more than you do. So who do you talk to if you have questions about AIDS? Or worse, if you think you've been exposed to AIDS? Well, now you can get the facts by calling the AIDS Fact Line. You'll get straight answers and accurate information. Ask us. Don't be in the dark about AIDS.
Nowadays, a college education costs as much as a house. How can you afford it? There's a $30 billion pie of financial aid out there. A slice of it is for you. If you want your slice of the financial aid pie, you've got to do the paper to get the paper. We'll teach you how to do the financial aid paper and how to negotiate for your slice of the pie.
The United Negro College Fund. Which products make your home a hazard zone? Monday at 5:30.
Pitt Stadium on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh. Today, the Panthers have broken a 4-game losing streak, and they have extended Rutgers' losing streak to 4 games, a 22-17 victory for Pittsburgh today. I think a very entertaining game. Both coaches had to be happy with the effort, with the fact their teams turned their efforts around and turned their games around from last week. I guess, in essence, it looked like the first half would change the story for Rutgers. The second half, though, was a kind of a retrofit. It was a slip back for Rutgers. Their offense just went nowhere.
Well, and they had great field position on a couple key situations in the second half. They weren't able to move the football, weren't able to put points on the board, but give some credit to the Pitt defense. They really rose to the occasion. They gave up some yards, but they came up with big plays when they had to, a couple key sacks and key turnovers.
Well, I imagine that Paul Hackett is awfully happy with the way his team responded. A tough week, a week where he had to confront some issues with some players, some of his veteran players. And today his leader, Alex Van Pelt, stepped up and played an outstanding football game.
Leaders on both sides. Alex Van Pelt played a great ball game, was a real coach on the field, a leader in every sense of the words, and Ricardo McDonald on the defensive side with some help from Sean Gilbert. Those are some of his key leaders, juniors and seniors that have to carry the load for this football team. They did it this afternoon.
There's something else this game points out in the fledgling days of this football conference. Now, Pittsburgh had beaten Rutgers 8 straight times before this year. None of the games had ever been close. Here's a game that was decided by a field goal today. And some people can snicker and say parity sometimes is a synonym for mediocrity. I'm not going to be the judge of that, but I'm going to tell you that this conference, you know, you could say 7 teams are not separated, or maybe the middle 6 are not separated by all that much. This game shows that today.
It definitely does, and you're right. In the 8 games prior to this, I think Pitt had beaten Rutgers by a combined total of 285 to 80, and so they definitely have manhandled them in this series, but this is a different Rutgers football team. Doug Graber has this team playing hard and playing extremely well on the defensive side of the ball. If they can just find some answers offensively, maybe not this year, it may be too late to find it with 1 game left, but next year with the, you know, hopefully Brian Forte coming in as a quarterback to transfer from Miami, Ray Lucas, the other freshman quarterback, they get those guys involved and integrated into the offense, get to where they can score some points, play the defense the way they do today, and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with next year, as is the Pitt Panthers.
And even though Rutgers lost again today, if they can win at home next week, they still go 6-5. That's 3 games better than last year. That's a great thing for Doug Graber and his players to take out of this season. All right, we'll come back and chat with the winning coach, Paul Hackett of the Pittsburgh Panthers, who win here today 22-17. We'll do that after these words from our local stations.
It's Saturday morning at Perry Traditional Academy. 24 students have given up sleeping in for a chance to brighten their future. Helping them are 10 volunteers from Mellon Bank. The track record of these corporate tutors has been so good that there's now a student waiting list. And the Mellon-Perry Partnership is only one of dozens of similar alliances around the city. Partnership in Education, sponsored by the Allegheny Conference on Community Development, the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and the Pittsburgh Board of Education.
For more than 25,000 children and senior citizens throughout the area, this could be a winter of desperate need. Hi, I'm Joe DiNardo.
And I'm Kathy Seviller from Shop and Save.
And from now until November 30th, you can help make a difference.
For every Shop and Save brand product you buy, Shop and Save will donate a penny to Project Bundle Up.
It's a chance for you to provide warm winter clothing for area kids and senior citizens.
So look for Shop and Save brand products.
And please support Project Bundle Up.
Who can I turn to when nobody needs me?
The Urban League helps make older people's lives worth living again. Please support us. We can make a world of difference.
But who can I turn to if you turn away?
Well, in Pittsburgh, they call this the Hill. We're up on the hill here. And even though the crowd was not what Pittsburgh would normally like to see or normally expect for a home football game today, I think the folks that were here saw themselves a pretty good game and the beginning of a rivalry that will take on more serious proportions as this Big East Conference forms. Pittsburgh winning 22-17. It is a winning season for Pittsburgh. Rutgers can clinch the same next week with a win at home over Temple. And now Pittsburgh gets ready for Penn State. That isn't too hard for them to do here, is it?
No, it'll be a great ball game. They'll be ready to play. And since we're in Pitt Stadium, I think I ought to mention, too, Dan Marino would be awfully pleased with you wearing the isotoner gloves today on the air
right.
as well.
Well, I was brave for 4 hours, but that's enough now. I mean, it's cold. I don't mind telling you, it's cold. All right, let's look at the final numbers. Nearly 500 yards of offense. That's become pretty much a habit for Pittsburgh every week. They have 400. They think it's an off week.
Well, Bill Meyer wanted to run for 200. He didn't want to have to see Alex Van Pelt throw for over 300 yards, but he'll take the win. Alex played a great ball game, and they were able to run the ball, particularly in the fourth quarter when they needed to.
And, you know, Todd, you look at the other side there, Rutgers, 255 yards. Now, they had 208, I believe, at halftime, so that gives you a pretty good clue of what happened to them in the second half.
A lot of sacks in the second half as well. That just takes a lot of yardage off of your totals. And the turnovers, you know, that they're a team that just can't afford to turn the ball over because they haven't been able to sustain many scoring drives. The turnovers definitely hurt today.
And Pittsburgh got first downs in the second half. Rutgers did not, and Pittsburgh was able to keep the ball much more, kept Rutgers' defense on the field a much longer period of time in the second half. Well, let's look at other Big East action today. Boston College beat Temple 33-13 in Philadelphia. That puts BC to 4-5. And they, of course, head into Syracuse and Miami for their last two games. And Virginia Tech is on its way to a 5-4 record if they can close out Akron in that game.
Temple was the most improved team last year, coming off the bad year in '89 and turning around in '90. Boston College may win that award this year because they have really turned their season completely around with 2 games to play.
There's one other Big East game that will be played, and it will start in about 30 minutes. West Virginia at Miami. An important game, of course, for Miami to set up their game with Florida State next week. But West Virginia has some bowl interest, and they need a good showing today, representative showing against Miami to keep that bowl interest intact. Florida State is setting up its end of the bargain for next week as they're piling it on South Carolina. Ohio State doing the same in the Big Ten to Minnesota. And Duke leading by a point over Wake Forest, and Virginia. That's a very impressive win for George Welsh's team as they bombed the ranked North Carolina State Wolfpack 42-10. Illinois blanking Purdue, and wow, the Furman team. Are they the Paladins? Is that their nickname?
I'm not sure. Sounds good.
My goodness, giving Georgia Tech a battle. And Michigan leading Northwestern and Penn State with a shutout over Maryland at halftime, 24-0.